but planning do. So before going into the presentation, I like to talk about something about Indian context and the projects we get in design studios. In design studios, yeah. Okay, so we can start now. So today what I'm here to tell you is what is UX design pitch. I'll tell you what we do when we make a UX design pitch, because we have very limited time when we have to interact with the audience, and we have lot to talk about, many questions. So starting with this, as I promised that I'll make sure that your time is being given value. I don't want it to be a lecture series. I want it as an interaction, not a one-to-many interaction, but many one-to-one interactions. And in order to do that, I'm taking an approach. I'm using an online tool, but I do need your support for a few seconds. So are you willing to do something for me? You just have to do one thing. I want you to take your phone out and on Google, write Slido, Slido. Yeah. Are we in? So, and when you enter the website, there's a place when you have to enter something. So enter this text, 7627249. Yeah. The purpose of this whole tool is that you can see an interface there where you can put the questions and it will directly appear on my application, so that I can know that what is the doubts going in the people's mind. And apart from that, if most of the people as designers as well, we are generally introverted by nature. So people generally are afraid to raise their hand or put something, but they like to ask questions anonymously. And you can like someone's question if you think, and in that way, I can actually know what audience is thinking, and we are on the same page. So moving ahead. Yeah. Now in the application, you can see another interface. There is a form coming, and it is just for my knowledge so that I can know what the whole crowd demographic background is. Because I want to know that you are getting to know it. And for that, I need to know who are the major general majority is here. So we have around 50% design professionals, 46% design students, and few non-designers as well. Okay. Since we have few non-designers as well, that was just for accessibility check. I'll make sure that I don't use jargons, I don't use technical terms, and I start fundamentally. That was the whole objective of this. Okay. I guess 65 people has answered, so sufficient information. I'll take design student as my primary audience, and considering that, I can move ahead. Yeah. So let's start. This is just a crisp introduction of the topic. A designer's journey is incomplete without learning the language of business. Obvious, yes? Because designers are here to do something. But why did I place this image of a burger up front? Because apart from the unsaturated fats and all the health issues, this is more than just a burger. This signifies cultural intelligence. When McDonald's came to India, they know that Indian population are not much of a non-vegetarian eater. So they did a research on the crowd. They know that coming up with a simple product, which is cheap and can have a similar face value that a vada pav has, and it can work, and it did. So that is what understanding the crowd is. That is what means culturally getting to know the depth of the problem. But the problem, which looks very simple on the surface, is not very simple. It's actually very complicated. So in order to just communicate and have a visual image, I just want to give an outrageous example. This is just for the case of learning. This is an hypothetical scenario. Have you seen someone like this before? So he's a chart wala, which we see every day whenever we are walking on the streets, and we generally get familiarized and we start talking to them. Imagine a chart wala comes to you with this brief. I want to sell my chart online. People say my dahi papdi is the best in the city. This is the brief, this hypothetical. So Mr. Xavier's wants to design an application for this chart. It might sound funny, but when you're talking in an agency term and freelancers term, your problem complexity is at this level, because you have to interact with an audience which you have no understanding of. We have no understanding of that street vendor economy. But one day I was sitting with the whole inspiration of this idea was, one day I was walking on the street and I was having a sandwich on the stall, and I started having a conversation with the sandwich wala. And after 30 seconds of conversation on the capital that flows on the whole industry, I decided to quit my job and start a thela at here, because there's a lot going on in the streets which we are not aware of. And when someone clients come with that kind of a problem statement, the response is obvious. The design team gets a heart attack. The design lead is angry because client lacks patience, does not respect process. Designers are angry because they don't understand anything he says. Seniors are angry because he's not willing to cooperate, and they don't know what to do, but we have signed for the project and now we are doomed. And that's the on-ground reality of design is, because ultimately we are here to solve the problems. So moving ahead, I'd like to give a quick overview of the workshop. So this is a 30-minute presentation, then in a 15 minutes Q&A round. I'll be covering topics majorly about what is pitch decks and how estimations are done. And then the whole presentation is divided into 3 parts, which I'll be covering topic like how the studio life is, insights on that, what a pitch deck looks like, and then we'll talk about few cases. So let's start with the obvious. Studio, design studio. It's a buzzwords. One of the buzzwords which we use: design studio, design agency, freelancers. These are big words, but as we understand, design studio is nothing more than a team of professional individuals who are so passionate about their domain, who are so passionate about making a change, that they are willing to work in an environment which is chaos but organized way. So there are many departments, just like any other corporate industry or company. We have designers, developers, HR, marketing, sales, all interacting with each other in a form of an organized chaos. And together, if you look from the top view, that's a design studio. So as I'm a designer, as we all are interested into design, I will stick to the design part. A design project generally looks like this. There's a project manager, then there are design leads. Design leads will take care of the business aspect as well as the design aspect. Then there are senior designers who make sure the deadlines and the quality are met. And they have a team of junior designers with them working for the project. But it varies studio by studio. So sometimes we don't have design leads. Sometimes in other studios which I have worked, we had just one designer managing a team, given a task and delivering the product. But the real studio experience I got the day when I saw something like this happening. When I saw the project manager sitting with the designers using Figma and making wireframes on that, I realized a studio is not just about the definition of roles or the on-paper hierarchy. It's a flat playground. It's a football match. Everyone can do whatever they want, but the best play comes when work as a team. So that's what design studio is. And of course, there's a scenario which I call the disaster scenario, which look like this. You are a solo designer, one-man army, and you have to save the project. It looks very traumatic, and it is, but trust me on this. I had previously experienced this. A 1 month of this trauma can teach you lifetime of design lessons. And you only get this experience when you're working in an environment which is on the ground, dealing with the realistic problems. So moving ahead, since most of you are from the design background and some are not from design background, I just want to give a top level view of how a design process or the project look like. So the 4D design process, if most of you are aware of. So it is, firstly, we have a interaction with the client getting the requirements. Then the requirements are passed on to the designers, and designers do the iteration. UX team decide on information architecture wireframes, and UI team works on mood boarding. If that gets approved by the client, it moves ahead, and UX team start working on the wireframes, pass it to UI team, team do their magic, and voila, the final design is handed over to the development. But that is what it looks from the top. If you zoom in, this is what it looks like. And yeah, this is a everyday scenario in a studio, and we love it because this is real. And we are dealing it with every day, except the disaster scenario that looks something like this. I hope all the budding designers get to experience this someday, because then you will all come on stage and want to talk about it. So moving ahead with this, I want to talk about, since I'm not talking about the project phase, I want to talk about the before project phase. There are a few jargons which I'll be using very frequently: RFP, SOW, POC. So in order to explain those jargons, request of project, scope of work, I've made a sequence diagram. So what this sequence diagram denotes is there are four pillars. There's a client, then in the agency, there are management, design, and sales. So the process starts when a client or a business owner has a design requirement, and they make it available for the audience to know, agencies to know that they have a requirement. Then the agency management gives a request for proposal. Request for proposal is that agencies talking about themselves, selling themselves, that they are capable of solving their problem. If the client likes that, then client sends the back what we call scope of work, or their requirement or product brief. I want something like this, etc. When it goes to a design team analyze that scope of work, and they work on two things. Firstly, estimation, understanding how much time and resources it will take to deliver that. And then they take an understanding of proof of concept. So in order to solve the problem, they have to come up with a concept, and they make a deck or a presentation saying that this is the proof of this concept we think can solve your problem. So just to uncomplicate everything, we designers first take a rough estimation, rough assumption that client may have this problem and this might solve their problem. And then we pitch it to them, and then the client gets, if they like it, they come to company or not. So the whole everything I'm focused on is this point. When we as an agency, all the three pillars come together, management, design, and sales, and we make a final deck or the pitch deck with a presentation, and that is given to the client. And that is one very important thing which we generally ignore as a designer, because it costs nothing. Firstly, if we are a freelancer, or if we are just experimenting with design and we want to learn about industry, this is where you actually get to talk with the real client and real problems. You have everything to win, nothing to lose. And you can actually experience what solving a problem looks like without having the knowledge of the problem. And if that comes, then you get to solve the project, and of course paycheck is there. But this is something which I want to recommend to all the designers. So I want to make what you call small assumption. Let's assume that we are a studio here. The people on my left are the sales team. The people on my right are the design team. Okay, so I am the manager here. I ask sales team to talk only about the timings, the resources, and the payment part. I'll say to designers to talk about the design part, and we three will go there. Okay, so I want from you to tell me that what should be the most important thing in the pitch should be, which can make the pitch efficient. Okay, you'll be talking about design, and they'll be talking about the sales part. But what should I focus on in the design? So in order to help me with that, can you please take out your phones, and there's a survey coming in there. And I want you to answer that. There can be four things as a manager. I think I can drive this. I can drive this via a story-driven pitch. I can drive this with a data-driven pitch. I can drive this with a visually appealing pitch, or I can make it very concise and to the point pitch. But I want to know, how will I proceed? Because whole project and every of the team and progress depends on just this 5-minute crisp interaction. So take your time, think about it. And I'm very curious to know what we come with. Story-driven pitch is winning. Okay, I think we can see the progress in the story part. But let's take few steps back. Let's talk to Mr. Xavier's again. You remember Mr. Xavier, the chart wala? Do you think he'll appreciate the story-driven pitch? I don't think so. I think he'll lose the track. I think a very visual and very, tacky kind of pop kind of and height gradient, drop shadows. He'll love that visual pitch. So that's the point I want to communicate here. There is no right answer. And we don't know the answer because we don't know the client. We don't know the problem area. And we have to take a shot in the dark based on few assumptions and all that thing. So now we know that there is no right answer. The question is, how do we approach? So a pitch comprises of two things. One is a deck, which is a presentation. So whenever I use the word presentation, please assume that I am talking about the act of presenting, not the PowerPoint. So a pitch comprises of a presentation plus a deck, pitch deck. And of course, let's address the elephant in the room, the artificial intelligence. The game is changing or have changed. But how do we know is this work with us or not? AI is very intelligent, very fast and amazingly quick, but can it help us? So to solve this doubt, to work on it, I want to give a dry run on this. I want to test few tools and I want to see if those tools work with this or not. Okay. Just to make sure that I have not anything prepared in the background, I'm going to take a random, problem statement. So I'll go to this website, which is called Designer Size. I'll ask for a random challenge from it. So it gave me to design a book discovery app for early adopters. Okay. I'll use this app called gamma.app and just to design a pitch deck for a book discovery app for early adopter. I'll go there, I'll use this AI and I'll ask it to make a presentation as a pitch deck of book. What was that again? I forgot. Book discovery app. Okay, thank you. Book discovery app. For early adopters. Okay, let's see the magic. By the way, there are lots of tools online. I mean, I'm not even trying to go into which tools, because I'm guessing your Instagram feed is already flooding with those. These are few tools which I use. I find them reliable. Yeah, so let's see what it is made. Okay. Pain points, solution, unique features and benefits. Voice recognition technology, community feedback rating. So it defined the problem first, then came up with the solution analysis, did few research, and then talked about the solution criteria. And it is doing everything on the go. I mean, it is faster than it is faster than Maggie. Maggie even takes 2 minutes. This is less than a minute. And we have a deck prepared. But I want to be honest with you. If I were a client, if I were a product owner, I will never sell my product to this, because these things, and it is not talking to me. This may be a presentation, but it does not has a human element in it. It is visually amazing, but I'm just not feeling that it is talking to me. And even for the for design part as well, If you can add few designs or concepts in this to make, yeah. So this is a website called Lilium I generally use for brainstorming and wireframing part. So book discovery website. Yeah. Even if we come about the designing part, so what this AI is doing, it is defining the information architecture for this website on the go. Like it is thinking of it and it is designing the whole website here. And if you go to this tab in the wireframe tab, there are the wireframes. And it is thinking and it is doing the designing. So the question is why are we still not jobless? Because nobody needs us anymore. This is just one few seconds of click. Because the answer is human beings are not perfect. And our imperfection is what makes us human. And an artificial technology cannot replace that. And if you try to empathize with a product owner, you will realize that their business is like their baby. Exactly. The emotions they attach with their business. They will not take a single chance. They will only go for the safe option. They will never give a baby to someone with slippery hands, if you can say. So AI is for execution. Tools are for execution. But above that, as designers, our job is ideation. Always mentally keep going back to the Xavier example, then you will realize that, okay, AI cannot solve that problem. It does not have that data. Nobody has that data. But there is a problem and we have to find a solution. But more than that, in my personal experience in past 4-5 years, is that you may have heard the saying that goes, as, let the work do the talking for you, right? We hear that all the time. It does not work. If you are a great designer, if you are creating great designs, but you are not able to explain how those designs are working, those designs will never see the daylight. So before ideation as well, there's one more important aspect which we call selling. You have to learn to identify the problem and make a solution as a designer, but you also have to convince the product owner and the stakeholder that it is going to work, and they don't speak our language. Mr. Xavier does not understand the 4D design process. He understands different kinds of Bhel or charts, but the solution is with us, but we have to know how to sell it. So that's when the idea of design pitches. This is a small mnemonic which I have made in order just so that I can remember things well. So design pitch, the D stands for define objective. As I mentioned before, a person is giving you time is like someone giving you their most important asset. When you enter the room, just put the problem out open so that the objective is defined and you respect their time so that the conversation can start also. E is for engaging audience. People may not understand the design language. And as a designer or as a manager or as a salesperson or anybody, you have to have a mental check with them already. If are they engaged or not? Are they thinking of something else or daydreaming? And it's your responsibility. If you think that they are not engaged, then change your tone, make more eye contacts. See that if they are on their phone or not, change your vocal tone and try to buy their attention. Then thirdly is a showcase insight. So as a designer, what I learned long ago is that I word should never come in a pitch. I think that, I feel that. I would say I should is not a designer's job. It will always be research based. Research suggests that X, that's why we think Y works. We have to have a backup resource or research for every of the insight, and we have to show it to them with links. Then if we are showing them a lot of data, they will lose track. So illustrate them, make it beautiful and easy to communicate. G is for get feedback. Mr. Xavier's is there, so you have to ask him only that how his market is working, because nobody of us knows how the market working, and definitely not the software or Bard or ChatGPT knows. So we have to have that interaction with the client to get their feedback on all spot. And finally, to make sure the whole presentation goes flawlessly. There will be time while you're pitching something to client, and client will come with something out of the world question and distract you and take you on a different ride altogether. But it's your job to take him back on the journey which you are taking him. And that is how you are going to make the sense out of your story. So these are the design principles which I take for pitch. And before going into pitch, I think of three things. Or whenever I design a pitch, I think of three things. First, the audience. Who are the audience? Second, the message. I have to have everything focused on the message. And finally, the simplicity. In the presentation deck, there should not be any visual elements apart from something which is needed or something which is of a brand visuals. Then I want to talk about something what a pitch deck structure look like in presentation. So it has four parts, mainly introduction, concept, solution, and conclusion. Introduction, we talk about the agenda, the problem statement, or our approach, and the different design process we take. In the concept, we talk about the target audience. Mostly the target audience are provided by the client only. Then we have the target audience, we have a persona, then we talk about the problems they are facing. We can identify through empathy mapping, we can identify through user journey mapping to point the exact place where the problem is occurring in the process. And then we also do competitive analysis, that how their competitors are doing this to solve the same exact problem, so that we have a little competitive edge. And then we can go towards a solution approach. Approach is like an abstract principle, is not something we can talk about, like something like personalization or improving engagement, things like that. And then in the solution, we come up with features. Okay, if we add this feature in the website or in the application, then this much of bounce rate or this much of business can be improved. Everything has to be supported with research. And if we are suggesting something, we have to provide via the research and how it will impact the whole process or journey. Then give a glimpse of the design. Glimpse as in design one screen, final UI, or because people understand visuals. Whenever I see pointers or maps or anything, I will lose the track. So there has to be something that represents the whole purpose of a page, like one web page or home page, something, anything can work. And then finally, impact and value proposition, because business owners understand numbers. So talk in terms of KPIs, don't take them to a different rides where they don't want to go. And yeah, numbers work. And then a conclusive statement. If you have worked on similar projects before, then show a case study of those previous projects, and then go to the implementation plan. So generally in agencies or studios I've worked, the sales team deal with the implementation plan, timings, timelines, and the resources, money, and all those things. So in that case, the 5 minutes that were given to you, you can very well in crisp way communicate the message. And I think, yeah, it's sufficient. So this is just a template I found on Figma community, but I just want to explain, like, this is the same structure generally used everywhere in every presentation format. So pitch deck does not have to be something very flashy. It can be just words with a connectivity so that it makes sense. So something, the 4 parts you have to be aware of. First, the red part, as I mentioned here, red part is the introduction. As we move forward, the problem gets a bit more solved in the listener's head. So concept, solution, then conclusion. So think in terms of colors whenever you are proposing any solution, and always mention beforehand that you had limited information and this is just a proposal concept. And at the end, if you want, mention the different limitations or constraints you had. Yeah, coming back to the case of client of Indian context, coming back to Mr. Xavier's. So let's say Mr. Xavier's came and he came with, I want to sell my chart online. People say my dahi papdi is the best in the city. So my client comes from a small scale industry. The challenges I am facing is that ambiguous brief and lack of understanding of ground reality. So just to overcome those problems, I'll apply the same approach which I used before, the 4 colors approach. Yeah. When I showed him the problem, he realized that this is not just a small thing that make it online, it will work. We realized that the audience can be local residents, workers, food enthusiasts, tourists, visitors, office goers, students, event attendees. And the challenges could be quality, freshness concern, delivery time, reliability, order accuracy, and customizations. So in the journey, these are the upfront challenges which we are visible to us because we are also one of the personas. And in order to solve this problem, we will need a lot of time. But just to give a proposal concept, how we will solve it, we can propose simple solution approach like we can make sure the quality is assured. These are approaches: quality, delivery, variety, and customer support. So in the same basis, we have covered till yellow. And after that, we can show some visual concepts like how we can navigate the users, or some wireframing, or maybe user interface if the brand already have a brand guidelines or something. So the aim of a design pitch is not to make sure that we have so much talent. No, because whenever if you go to Google and write design pitch, it will redirect you to Behance or Dribble or the flashy pitches they have made in the amazing visuals and all those things. It is never about that. It is always about the content which is there. And the purpose is very simple. It's a win-win situation for both the client and the project manager. Because firstly, a design pitch conveys vision and the potential of the project. As a product owner, I also may not know that this project, what potential it carries. But when a designer comes to me, can make me aware that, okay, this can also be used like this as well. And for a designer, this is a win because even before the project got in, we already have a project's tone and direction set up. Now we are aware how we are going to go because we only started the whole concept. And we both can understand each other's design values. The client can know that they can trust us, and we as designers can know, okay, we cannot trust client, something like that. Yeah, so the final pointers which I think should be remembered is do your homework. Whenever you're going in front of a client or anybody from any business domain, you should have every possible resource on your hand so that they can have the conversation. Second, storytelling over technical language. Don't use jargons and professional industry terms in front of them. Just have a very native or a lingo based conversation with them, but always keep those in your back pockets. Because whenever there will be a conflict, whenever you say X and they say Y, then you have to take out all the usability heuristics and the laws and different, you have to throw them out because they won't trust you. They won't trust your instinct and they should not. Your instinct should also have a backup. It is generally said that UX design is common sense, and I don't disagree with it. But since the common sense is also not common, we have to have backup for something. So whenever you are explaining something, coming up with concepts, research, and the design jargons. Third point, know what your client and say it first. In order to keep your clients engaged in the presentation process, you should know what the client is on mentally. What is he thinking? Is he getting distracted or is he going in another direction? And if you realize that they are about to go in another direction, you should say it out loud first. Like, let's say I'm designing some website or something, and I know that this website may not have a very good FAQ section. And I realize that client is noticed that and about to say it. So you should put it out first that the FAQ section might be a little challenging, but as we go ahead in the process, we'll discuss it within a team and find the most feasible solution so that they know that they can trust you. And that is the whole process objective, the trust, which is you are there to sell. And finally, be a friend. You are going in front of a client or any product owner or business owner. You're going there to make a relationship. Think it like that. So let him try to hurt you in different ways, and you can be confident that design may or may not work, but you are a good designer. It's just a difference of opinion which is causing the conflict. So moving ahead, I want to show how a pitch deck is actually designed. And I want to communicate that it is not a difficult job, because like I mentioned in different areas that uh, the simplicity is the key. Also, since when you go in the commercial market, you realize most of the client come up with 2 or 3 sentences. Firstly, they said they want a simplistic and minimal design, and second, they said that we want all the features in it. So it is always paradoxical things which happen in there. But as a designer, this is the first step you are taking, and this is where you can have the control over it. So, so before moving ahead, I want to take another poll. So yeah. So let's say I am a designer and you are a client, and you have 3 different projects. Projects like for an edtech company, project for a fintech company, or project for a fashion brand. And you don't have a clear brief though, but these are there. So I want you to tell me which of them you want to see as happening as a pitch to be made. So 40 people has responded, and we are having a little bit of tie. So let's wait for a few more minutes. Okay, I guess we have a winner here. So let me start with the basic understanding. So I'll be sharing my screen, Figma screen for this. So yeah. So if you remember, there are 4 aspects of this: red, orange, yellow, and green. So in the red, we focus on the project statement and objective. So firstly, I just need to write here what is the pitch. So whenever you are designing in Figma, just do a brain dump. So I have a few screens with me here. Let's see. Yeah. So I kept few screens, let's say like this. These are just all the templates from the community. So that is fine. So whenever you use this professionally, just make sure. But for personal, this is I'm using for educational purpose. Okay. So for the first part is the introduction part. So introduction, you mention the problem statement. Then you mention about the brief or the approach. And I think red part, there's nothing much you can talk about yourself. Yeah. For target audience, just make sure that you are on the same page with the clients, that we both are aware that who are we designing for, because this is an area which is quite critical. So if generally client only knows better who are their target audiences. So when you know the target audience, just find a small template or something. I also get it from different places. So try to draft a persona first. So what is a user persona? Something like this. So when you have a target audience, let's say I'm designing here for the ed tech brand. So for an ed tech brand, we don't need a professional. Our user is not a professional. Our user is someone more younger. So and we can provide different demographic information. So the purpose of defining a persona is just to make sure that all of the design team and all of the stakeholders are on the same page that who are we designing for? And we are designing for a student. And just so you know that we will be taking this on a longer basis, like whole design process and all the decisions will be dependent on this user's need. After that, you have to focus on something which we call a user journey map. So what is a user journey map? Okay, it looks something like this. So let's take just one scenario. Uh, our student, let's call him Aditya. Aditya is having a bad day and he's trying to learn about something with the current devices he has. And in that journey, you put all the stages he goes through emotionally, all the actions he do, all the thoughts he are having, and after that, all the pain points in the process, and finally the opportunity which you can have as designers to design for. So when you have this opportunity here, these are the most important aspect. So in the orange area, we get target audience challenges. Then you do a competitive analysis. Then you see all the different websites are there for the competitors and try to get a brief understanding in how they're doing. Actually, I wanted to make a whole pitch, but actually we're running out of time. So I'll have to move it very quickly here. And then finally, the yellow part. Yellow part is where you come with the features. The solution was not the feature. Feature is what do you call the after effect. So this mistake, I think most of the designers I see do in industry is that they start with features. I come with a problem statement. They say, okay, we'll provide a Google Maps in that. We'll do something that X, Y, Z. But the issue is that we have to think in terms of problems and solutions. And okay, I'll move back to this one. Anyway, yeah. So when you think in terms of what people need, then you start thinking in terms of solution and then the feature comes. And on that feature, you make a pitch deck. So always focus on the solution aspect. And this is what we call a design estimation. This is just an image I found from Google and I copy pasted it here. And the purpose of a design estimation, you as a designer, since you don't know what the project is going to be, you simply make a rough analysis of how much time it will take for UX design, for UI design. And if it's much, then how much resources will it be needing? And in that way, you'll make a Gantt chart, and to understand different stages a project goes through, how many designers will be needing, and to minimize the time required for the project. So you have to balance the requirement of time and resources based on assumptions. So it is kind of a tricky play because sales team will try to tell you that, okay, reduce the time because we have to sell it. The design team will tell you, okay, we can't do in this time, we need more time. So it is a little bit of tricky area, but if you do more of this, experience more of this, you realize that it is actually the most important part of the project, because if everything happens after depends on this. If later the client complains that why it is taking so long, then you can say that, okay, initial estimation was this much, and then you added this. That's why it is taking. Or the company can say that, okay, although the project got over before some time, but still we had a deal on the basis of this much time, we'll charge you on the basis of this much time. So I'll suggest every one of you go at home, Google design estimations and go through every possible links. I honestly can't find anything good material that can teach you how to make design estimation, but I can quickly tell you, make the note of number of pages and number of complexity every page has, and allocate time for different complexity will take, and then assume that a designer will work for 8 hours and divide it on that basis. It is a bit of a mathematical play. I like to do it in Microsoft Excel, but you can use, there are a lot of tools out there. Okay, the final note. So you are not, as a designer, will just be getting paid for the experience you are designing. You will be also getting paid for the experience of designing with you. Take some time and understand this. You are not there to just tell them that I can do this. You are also there to tell them that you can rely on us. Like they can have this feeling, okay, this guy is there, we are sorted. That feeling you have to communicate. And that is something you can only get through experience. And there's nothing to lose and everything to win. So all the freelance designer, interested people and budding designer professionals, anybody, just try to understand how will you solve a problem which you're not aware of. And this will actually make you understand more about the field aspect of industry. So yeah, that's it from my side. Any questions you would like to ask? Uh, Sorry, because last part I have to wrap it up quickly because there are time constraint, but otherwise, I think I've communicated most of the important aspect, that what pitch is and what estimation is. So I would love to have some questions from the audience because I want to know that are we on the same page or is it making sense? Please. Okay. Mhm. This right? Does user action emotion needs to be based on assumptions? So we are assuming a persona. Persona is a human which may or may not exist. So users action, we don't know how a user will respond. So you can start with someone you can empathize with. And of course, this is something that comes up with the tons of background research and on field information. So I think, yeah, for the first step, the assumption part work, and it will work better if you have a more understanding with the client and they can tell you how they are dealing with this. How can we set that? Okay, Bhumisha is asking, how can we set the timeline for research as a research process takes so long? Yes. To be honest, I have not worked on at a particular research part. So research has its own limitations and constraints. So I don't think I'm the right person for answering this, Bhumi. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, so in Slido, we also have a few questions. What is the name of application software you use for wireframe? Figma. MS Excel and Figma. You don't need anything else in the world. What is the name of application software that you use for generating problem statement? It is designer size, designer with Z. Always, I'm not taking research questions because I'm not the right person for that. I'm not talking about any industry. I'm just talking about based on my different experience from different agencies. I'm not going particularly to any one experience. Persona cannot be made without a research. Yes. And in order to understand the direction of the process, in order to understand how are we going to take this project, we have to show them how are we going to design it. That's why in the pitch, we take persona as a challenge. Yeah, I think I covers most of the questions. So shall I wrap it up? It's fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. You had a question, sorry.
Hi. So here you give an example that the client gives you the requirement and then you go for the pitch, right? But what if we want to pitch the client for the first time and we do not have any, like they have any requirements or something? So do we follow the same process, or is it like first we have to go to the client and then understand their requirements and then go for the pitch?
Client does not give the requirement. Requirement is a completely different thing. What client give is a SOW, scope of work. So scope of work is nothing but a sentence, can be more detailed. Client can talk about the users, client can talk about the competitors. But scope of work is generally have 2-3 criterias, like the product, what they want, and basically what the brief was given in the example, right? That is the first step. And after that, when we get as the project as a whole, then we go into requirement aspect. So like you asked the question, the whole process is about starting with an assumptions just to show the caliber and the direction of the project. That's the whole process. And
So in
purpose.
both the scenarios, we follow the same process only.
Sort of, but if we have more knowledge, of course, then we'll take it through the more information.
Yeah, so when we do not have that knowledge,
Hmm.
and like I see that this website is not proper and I want to pitch to this client, so
Hmm.
will that client give me 5 minutes of his for my I'm pitching it to them? So will that be possible, or do we have to go in some other way?
Actually, I've had both experience. Like in my previous agencies I worked, uh, what we did in the previous agency, we just generally pitched this. We designed something and we pitched them, or this you will like, and they said, I like it, I'll buy it. Secondly, it was like, okay, I can improve it, and then we said, okay, if you want to improve it, then we can. So there's no process as such. It is an open field.
On the basis of assumptions only, we go
Yes.
to the.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. It was great having you all, and thank you for the patience. And I hope I did some, give value to them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan, for that enlightening session. I'm sure our audience now has a much clearer understanding of how pitches work in the world of UX. Before we move in, we like to thank ACM Sikkai Mumbai chapter for letting us use their platform and resources for the event. ACM Sikkai Mumbai chapter is one of the 121 chapters globally associated with Sikkai, which nourishes a network of researchers and practitioners through running conferences in chapter. It is also the 50th event anniversary of the Mumbai chapter, and we have some of the current and the past chapter officers with us as well today. Before we dive into the event, let's hear from Sushmita and Abhishek about India HCI and its history. We're joining them virtually today.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me. And all of you, if you give me feedback that would be too much, maybe the organizers, are they fine hearing me? Organizers, are they fine hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. So basically, I'm going to share with you a part of, history of India HCI. Primarily with an objective to motivate you to contribute to India HCI and be a part of India HCI, which is a growing family, as we have seen since its first event. Before I move forward, my name is Abhishek Srivastav, and I teach at IIT Guwahati, Department of Design, and I'm also steering committee chair of India HCI. So coming back to how exciting India HCI journey has been to most of us, I would like you to make a mention or make a note somewhere that it's HCIPI, which is Human Computer Interaction Professionals Association of India, which is the parent organization that organizes India HCI. And we have a web page with the URL hcipi.org. So all of you, I encourage you to visit that web page to get more information. As you can see, there is a lot of information about conferences, Google Groups, membership that we have posted out there. Speaking specifically of India HCI, there is a long history of this event, and I would like to walk you through that history for another few moments. And India HCI, actually in 2004, it was first started, and this was organized in Bangalore. It was an event that was organized in the month of December, and it was organized in partnership with Indo-European Systems Usability Partnership. And since then, we do not have a website screenshot for that event, but we do have this very interesting image, which is the first India HCI. As you can see, people poured in with a lot of interest, and they contributed immensely as part of that event. We had organizing committee comprising of Professor Joshi and Dr. Andy Smith and Iqbal Ahmed. With that, India HCI actually moved forward, and then with a certain gap of close to 5 years, we had another event in 2010. And this event was organized in IDC. And we had a very growing set of tracks. As you can see, we had papers, design case studies, industry presentations, student design projects, workshops, and tutorials. So the number of tracks has been, is an interesting part, and we keep adding tracks which are relevant to different audience at different point of time. With 2010, we moved to 2011, which was a conference that was my first conference, if I were to submit it before the audience. That was my first conference in Bangalore in 2011. It was a very interesting event hosted at IISc Bangalore campus. And the event has been something that I want you to take away with you is that this is a very accredited event by ACM HCI. And we have been published with ACM since a very, very long time. And we have a very archival presence with ACM Digital Library. So our proceedings are published and are archived at ACM Digital Library. Then we moved to India HCI 2012, which happened in Pune, and so on and so forth. A lot of interested industry partners also, started joining us as sponsors and as contributors to the content of the conference itself. So this was also one part where India HCI, if I may rightly put it, actually was gathering inputs from the early adopters of design research in the area of human-computer interaction. With that, we moved on to 2013, and so on and so forth. It happened again in Bangalore. We moved to 2013. It was also alongside APCAI. Then, interestingly, in 2014, as you can see, we had a very interesting set of keynotes by Saul Greenberg and Christina Hook, and the event received a lot of commitment from the side of industry and academia both. We moved to 2015. It was organized in IIT Guwahati, and if you have ever been to IIT Guwahati, you would see that it's a very beautiful campus. And the event added interest to the campus. It brought in a lot of people who visited northeast of India for the first time, and event acted as a pull for these visitors. And I was a part of that event, personally witnessing it, and you could see that there was a lot of enthusiasm across both students, academic people, and industry representatives. Very interesting event. We moved on to, I would like to emphasize that India has always been bagging a good, good bunch of keynote speakers, because I think these are the trailblazers in their own disciplines. And at times we have to look back and reflect on what these people have said, particularly when you are doing your day-to-day work and you are so engrossed in clients and your assignments as students. And listening to keynote speakers was a moment for a lot of us to understand what are the intricacies of the discipline. So one of the main aspect of India HCI is that we bring in a lot of valuable insights from these keynote speakers, and there's an interesting lineup of these speakers since 2004. In 2017, we combined India HCI with Interact, and we brought it back to ITC, IIT Bombay, and it was a very successful event as well. Similarly, we moved on to 2018, 19, and 20. 20 being a COVID year, we started, this was the first event when we started having the online presence of India HCI. And it was an interesting event because not only that it was the first online event, but at the same time, we saw a lot of flexibility around having a hybrid event. So we also, as organizers, experimented with the formats that were possible with online presence, and we found it that even with the organizing this online, there's a good degree of receptivity in the audience. So a lot of people joined this conference in an online mode, and this was quite a successful conference in many ways. We moved to 2021, and this conference was organized at MIT Institute of Design and MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune. And this conference also was the second follow-up of an online event. Did you hear the thunder burst? Okay, this is what is happening in Guwahati at the moment. There's a lot of rain happening outside. Anyways, coming back to 2021, this was, as I was saying, this was the second online event that happened. And I'm personally, you would appreciate that, doing it during COVID and attracting is still the right bunch of audience and an appropriate set of, interesting bouquet of events for audience was a great thing. So I congratulate organizers of 2021 immensely for that. Coming to 2022, we moved to, I don't have a screenshot for 2022, but we moved to ISB Hyderabad, which was last year. And this is perhaps, these are not the visuals of ISB Hyderabad, by the way, but this is the visual of the same place where you are probably sitting at the moment. You are sitting in IDC conference room. So what this visual showcase us that there's a lot of energy pull that comes in along with India HCI. We have a very dedicated audience that grows, a dedicated family that grows with every event that happens annually. And there is an interesting set of lineup of content that happens. So with that, let me move to certain groups in HCI PI per se. So we have a India HCI steering committee, which is a primarily body that deals with organizing India HCI conference. And we have education and training group as well. And then we have chapter and local events. We have certification, we have HCI PI awards, membership and member benefits. So, I probably have brought this slide primarily because to give you a sense of HCI PI as an organizing body that is responsible for India HCI and how we delegate different responsibility amongst ourselves. I would move to the conference website of 2023, and that's where I think I'll invite Shushmita to talk about the conference website of 2023. And Shushmita, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, I think they can follow. So we can go ahead with that.
Abhishek, I would request you to please keep the website on, because I am taking this call from not my working place and somebody else's place, so will not be able to use my laptop. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, we can proceed ahead till
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, hi everyone, I am Susmita. Just a brief introduction. Right now, I am a professor here at the UPES School of Design, which we lovingly call SOD. And this year, we are hosts of the India HCI conference, the 14th conference. And we are so glad and already feeling thrilled that we have this conference. And I would love to invite you all over to participate, as well as just come over and have if it is your first conference, have a thrilling experience in this place called Dehradun, which is also called the Devbhumi. And UPES is actually nested. If you would look at the venue, it is nested in hills. It is a little away from the central Dehradun towards Bidholi, where the hills are. So you have to travel at least 40 minutes away from the main city to come here. We have UPS has an entire department, which a lot of departments which are dedicated to energy, engineering, law, liberal studies, business, and many others, and also design. I would quickly come to design. And we have more than 9 to 10 subjects in MDes, and we offer 6 specializations in graduation. Anyway, coming quickly to the HCI. I am right now speaking to you in my position of a co-chair, co-program chair. So I am alumnus of IDC, Industrial Design Center. I did my PhD in IDC. So you know, Professor Chakravarti, he has been my guide. Professor Anirudh Joshi, he has been a guiding force, and we did many projects together and learned from him always. And therefore, I have always been in touch with the FlyKai or the SICAI groups, and even the student chapters I've been following. So this year we have a very interesting track layout. We are having, so I will talk in terms of what are the total tracks, how many are closed, how many are still open and hot for you to participate. One such track I would just highlight very first, which has a last day today, is the Student Design Consortium. Can we go to the call for participation? We can see the entire lineup. There was a papers track, which is over now. So this is the Student Design Consortium. We invite your participation submission as a group of four things: a write-up, which is up to 3 to 4 pages, a poster design, a full-size poster. You can find the dimensions on the page, a small explanative demo, and the proof of you being students. So this is the second deadline, actually the third deadline for the first time, because many students said that it was a comprehensive set of submissions. So this has been extended the third time for the first time in an HCI conference, but today is the last day. So I encourage all of you, for your student projects or the projects which you are doing under internship with NOCs and all that, whatever is required, please try to pitch in, submit for the Student Design Consortium, because this today is the hard deadline for this. Another very coming to, I think I should first talk about the open submissions. There is one submission which we just prolonged the deadline to 10th October, is the Women in HCI. I call out and I shout out to all you women out there who are contributing to the HCI field, are students in the HCI field, or practicing, or working with government, or working on your own, whether in research or design or pro bono, the work that you're doing, please come. We have this podium here where we share and we celebrate the work done by women. We also not only showcase what women are contributing to this field, we are also celebrating, and we have these mentors, and we plan to have a panel discussion where all of us come together and discuss the challenges of us as women, how we can actually, many other topics that we very closely address are also gender neutral, which are like, how do we proceed with research? How much time does it take? How to plan if you want to switch from research to industry, or you are in that industry, you want to switch to research. What are your timings in your life? How am I ready for a PhD? Should I be doing a PhD? Should I be doing a master's after graduation, or should I be moving to industry? Bring in all the doubts that you have in your mind, because we look at the actual working and the actual decision making that we go through day by day, and we design our careers, and we want to do all this kind of discussions which are not that open. And some of us do make these decisions ad hoc, and some of us are very meticulous about it. But What do other people say? What do they bring to the table? What can we learn from their experiences? So we address the challenges that we all face, whether in the environment that we work in or the field. So I invite you to participate. And just to highlight one or two things for submission is that we have made this a very easy to participate track so that we have a maximum participation. You can see all the subjects are very diverse. It's not only that you submit if your work is women-centric. Please submit if you worked in fashion or in beauty or in healthcare or ed tech or fintech. Please come up, whatever contribution you're doing under this sun of HCI. You will see, though I should make a disclaimer here also that these are little softly reviewed tracks. There is no anonymity on it. We do not do the blind peer reviews, but we do reviews. Each proposal is reviewed by 2 reviewers, but we do not archive it and we do not publish it. This is a platform where we are encouraging practice and demonstration and sharing of the work so that we can polish ourselves, we can discuss. I also assure you that even after presenting, even if your work is in progress and you present over here, we do not archive it, we do not publish it. Therefore, if you want to make a paper out of it, after all the feedback that you get from this track here, you can publish a paper later. All right, so coming down to the industry track now. So I would like to highlight here that India HCI is coming out at one of the unique and most strongest and robust platform where it is not skewed or partial towards a conference only being academic and research oriented. It is because design is practice-based and because HCI, we have to be very concurrent, rather ahead in time, for our research for the robustly changing technology. We have, I should say, a 40-60, or I can even say, I think, a 50% participation from industry. We have 2 very interesting tracks, which is a startup track, which is a curated one. We have an industry and case study presentation track. So I would encourage that if you have work under industry, many of you who are already entered industry, you can bring down in co-authorship with your industry and your mentors, your case study and the projects you are working on. We also invite government projects under HCI who have contributed to come in this track. This track is also a very soft review track for participation, also because this track understands that while in industry, not many may be used to and every day producing a scholarly, technically and scientifically rigorous paper. That is why the writing is very comfortable. You will see your templates here in this page. And let's have maximum participation here. The other tracks, so this HCI, we introduced 2 interesting and new tracks. One is women in HCI and second is creativity, arts and HCI. So how we can leverage tools, research, and the entire strength of HCI to leverage, to accelerate creativity, and how are we actually using it already. So it is also a curated track, yet one can submit if one is working with HCI in collaboration and honing creativity and arts aspect. So overall, you will see that we have 9 tracks. So in workshop and course tracks, all the experts pitch for workshop and courses. They have pitched, we have selected, the review process is over. You can see what to attend. Over here, we have also laid down what workshops are there which you can participate. There would hardly be a nominal fee or no fee for participant at all. If you're students, we could consider a group participation, and you can go and read up who the instructors are, their bios, and there are 6 workshops and 2 courses. I think the cap for each course and workshop is 25 per head. So do show your interest, register yourselves, and we will issue a letter or a group. Within the group, we can issue the email where we will tell you what are your requirements and what is the, actually each one of them also elicits what is the time frame. And please choose at the topics you are interested in. As we go closer to November, we will be able to supply you a very, very detailed and a micro program of the entire event. And there is also a showcase track where we actually showcase the international presence of Indian researchers, Indian papers in the field of HCI. This is also a curated track. Yet there can be submissions which can be reviewed. So I know the website is out there. You guys just check it out. And I would quickly take 1 minute to tell you how does it benefit you as students. Definitely what a conference does, you already know. I will tell you how we can make it convenient for you. One is that if you are visiting in a group, you can ask us, you can reach out to us, write to us. We can work out on a group concession or a group concession percentage code for you. We have also, I mean, this is today's hottest news, is that we have already extended the early bird registration, which actually was to expire on 15th September. We have extended it to enable students to participate. Please register. We have extended it up to, the dates will immediately change. They are in process. We took this decision yesterday itself. We want to extend it to 7th to 10th October. We will let you know. You can check out latest from the website. So do participate. Now regarding your residence and stays, we have already, in anticipation of, since HCI has always enabled students first, anything that we can do for students to participate, no matter which year they are in, because according to the founder members as well, and according to the policy, the first leverage is given to the students. And right from first year onwards, we want a research inclination and an exposure to the international conference scenarios, so they are more comfortable, and this is how they can envision how they can participate. So within campus, we do not have a hostel. We only have a hostel for the foundation years, but we have reserved some places over there. We have also, so in UPS, there prevails for students a PG system. PGs or hostels which are outside the campus, which are privately run. But still, we have booked a bulk amount for students. If you come over, we would be able to give you on very high or very nominal per day concessional rates to stay. We will be giving you a fleet to commute from that PG to the venue, which is the university. And those who have submitted and have got their papers accepted, we welcome them already. Please get in touch with us. And we are soon, it is in process. We are updating the entire list of PGs and the distance from them. The PGs for students are very close, not more than 5-minute distance from the university. So I hope this makes it very convenient for you to visualize and plan your travel. And as soon as you let us know that a group of you are traveling, we are also planning to run a fleet from airport to the university or to the PGs, because the airport falls actually in Rishikesh, border of Dehradun and Rishikesh, which is from our college. It is 1 hour, 40 minutes. So we will also be running shuttles for the arrivals to our college. So I think I would like to invite any questions or any FAQs that you have. right away. Otherwise, if you can think of them later or they arise later, do get in touch. Kinnari, I sign out now.
So thank you, Abhishek and Sushmita, for the
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
How can we get in touch with you? So there is a question I just quickly answer. Ashish has asked, how can you touch with? So basically, there are email IDs written on the India HCI website, and you can write to us over those email IDs. Ashish, is that okay? So, and anyways, if you fall still short of any contact details, please, we are available on LinkedIn. We are available on Facebook. So you can also write a comment to us. We usually it's difficult to respond to comments, but that's a way to reach to us. Okay. If you do not find our email IDs.
Also, the organizers here today, Kinnari, and the rest have our phone numbers and email IDs. If you reach out to them, they will also supply.
Okay, so thank you very much. And thank you, Sushmita. Thank you, Shiksha, Mumbai chapter, and everyone at IDC, including Professor Joshi and Kinnari.
Just 1 minute, 23rd to 25th November. Please bring your hoodies here. We will also arrange some of it here, but it's going to be a bit chilly. So come prepared.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure, sure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot for joining, both of you. We really liked having you here, and we would
Thank
really want you in person. We would really love to meet you in person someday.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. And all the best with this event. It's actually thriving. I am going to be still passively joining in and listening to everything that goes on. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So we just have a little small presentation about HCI Pi. I'll quickly go through it because they covered majority part of it. Yeah, so as they mentioned, HCI Pi is a community of researchers, academicians, design professionals, and students who are involved in different disciplines related to HCI-based design and research. So like what do you get from HCI Pi? It focuses on sharing peer-based peer review knowledge in discipline of HCI-based design and research. And also it has a bunch of community initiatives around community development, training, education, policy development, and professional services. So yeah, they talked about the conferences. So like the main question, why join us? So why join us at HCI Pi? Because as you know, your network is your net worth, and to HCI Pi is the best place to expand your network. So to grow your network, to build relationships and exchange ideas among the HCI platform community, it's the best place. So what do we offer is we offer you invitation to attend HCI Pi Life members and India Chair dinners, listing on HCI Pi corporate members with social media links, and discount for conferences as well. So who can be a part? Everyone of you, working professionals as well as students can be a part of it. So we have different packages for suited for your needs. So the yearly and lifetime packages is basically for the working professionals. You get discounted access to events, the first chance to lead conferences, and exclusive HCI networking. And in lifetime, you get an invitation to HCI Pi Life members, India HCI Chair dinners, listing on member page with links, as well as for educational and institutional membership, you get exclusive leadership opportunities and listing opportunities. So we have so these are our directors. We have 4 of them with us today, and they'll just join in after the presentation to answer any of the questions you have. So to become a member, you can just go through the website. I'll quickly show you. So this is the India HCI website. We have all the members, the lifetime members, the committee as well. And yeah, you can go here and you can register yourself as a part of the community. Yeah, and this is the membership team. You can contact any of us regarding any queries. We are all here to help you with the membership queries, and we also have a booth set up right outside today. So if you have any questions, please come and ask us. I'll like to bring up the directors for a minute.
Just by the way, guys, today's event is sponsored by HCI. So please welcome them with a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjog, for the presentation. And I think just wanted to emphasize a couple of things very quickly. HCIPI is a member-based organization, which means everybody can become a member, anybody. So students don't need to become member because they can already participate. But we welcome all the industry professionals to kind of become either annual members or life members in their personal capacity. Second thing I wanted to emphasize, which was there on the slide, but maybe you missed, is it is a not-for-profit organization. Okay, so it kind of helps us run this, because if you have to run any event like this event or India HCI or any other event, then you need things like bank accounts and so on. So, and India HCI, HCIPI provides all those services and so on. Yep. And so this is Richa, Shashank, Shalaka, and myself, Anirudh. So if you have any questions, I will be standing at the booth along with Yash here. So if you have any questions about membership, do approach us and ask us questions. And if you want to add anything, please go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things about HCPI is that, the organization has been created to ensure that we have a good representation from three most important constituents, right? We need folks from academia, the teachers, and then we also need people, professionals who work in the industry, and of course we need a lot of students like yourself, right? So that's the sort of the troika that we're trying to bring.
There are a lot of people here from the industry also, bro.
Oh, industry as well.
About how many people from the industry? Please raise your hands. Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. It's more than half of the people are. Students are harder to get, by the way.
So I'm glad. Actually, I was thinking that a lot of people are students, but yeah, I'm glad that.
No, there are a lot of people.
So I think it'll benefit professionally. I mean, because that's the platform that we're creating, where professionals, students, academicians can all come on a common platform to have discussions on things that relate to us, right? So yeah, I mean, it's like Anu was saying, it's a platform for everyone. You are most welcome to come help us. It's a completely volunteer-driven organization. No one takes salary or no one takes anything out of this. Completely volunteer-driven, member-driven kind of an organization.
So I'm very happy to see so many people from industry. I was expecting most of the students, as already said. So I urge the students first that please visit the conference which Sushmita and Abhishek was talking about. The reason being, I had a very different experience with the conference. So I understand now the sensitization of HCIPI is done, and you people have understood this has got a nice mix of industry and academia. And I'm telling specifically to the students that you will have lectures, talks, and a lot of enriching sessions which will be highlighted both for the industry and academia, which you can choose. I also request the students that why we want you to be there. It's not that you just go network, find something and come back. I'm looking forward for longer association with you so that you come back again, like these people who are sitting in the industry, join us again and help us to go enrich and bring our community. Because you can see that today it's a very nice event with few members, and we would like most of you to come here, as Ashank sir was pointing out, and think about newer ideas by which we organize a lot of events. So right now, HCIPI is broadly organizing one conference with some symposiums and chapters like this. But in future, we are also open for brilliant ideas, brilliant venues, and in organization with industries also. Please tell us some brighter ideas if you have. We can come there, we can talk, discuss, and host some of the events for you. Yeah, thank you.
If you're doing any local events in your company, we'll be happy to get you some really good speakers. So that that we can definitely.
So yeah, in addition to what Lisa said, we also are bringing in certifications and awards coming soon. And of course, HCI members who want to apply for that certification and awards would obviously getting some discounts in the fees as well. So yeah, that is something that's happening. These awards and certifications will be announced in the conference in November.
Yeah, thank you. Not taking much of your time, maybe. back
Thank you.
in-
I believe there is a WhatsApp group that you set up, right?
Okay.
So maybe you should share the number and ensure that the people.
Add it. Okay.
But no, we did ask. Are there any questions? Are there anything?
Are there any questions anybody has about CRPI? If not, then we are standing at the booth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining on the stage. We shortly clear the booth. And we know that you all are waiting for the main event, but before that, we'd like to give you a 15-minute break so that we set up everything over here. And refreshments are being served right outside, so please enjoy them. And be back in 15 minutes for the event awaits you.
The
Thank you so
most awaited event of the evening. So we'll expect you to be back by 15 minutes. I request the speakers to stay. Okay, guys, if you can come in the front. Gyan, Divya, Ayush. Are you guys hungry? I'll take just 5 minutes, then you can have the refreshments and then we can start. Oh, is the So, yeah. Okay. So, से बताएं,
Just want to check if someone is there. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think
This is Nagraj.
in any case, we have to hand it over. Who has to keep speaking? We'll just check the outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we need some volunteer. I think Ayush, can you just sit there once? And we just want to check if you are able to, we are able to see you. Ek mic de do. Yeah.
Hello.
So is that,
Hello. Mic check.
can we request Nagraj to join
Hello.
in? Is Nagraj in the?
Yeah, I have joined. Am I audible? I already joined.
Yes.
Yeah, Nagraj, you're audible.
So, Nikhil, why don't you go there? Let us see that if the camera is able to detect. Why don't you just pretend to?
My video is playing or?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Mic check.
Yeah, Nagraj, you're audible, right? Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Please switch it. The setup is working. Yeah. No, we are two only. We are two only. So,
Hi, Ayush. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Now am I audible?
Yeah, audible, but it's a little bit low. Your voice is low. Volume is low.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm able to hear, but can be a little bit louder. I feel.
Hello.
Yeah, you are clear.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Nagraj, you can come online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk? Maybe we can test it out again.
Yeah. Test 1, 2, 3.
Yes, yes. Thanks. Thanks, Nagraj.
Yeah.
Hope you all enjoyed the food and welcome again. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. Sanjog, these developers are so rigid, man. They keep on disagreeing to implement our designs as integrated.
But they also have to think of a lot of other factors like SEO, loading speed. It's not just the aesthetics for them, you know.
Now, don't bore me with these technical jargons. Designers are definitely more productive than developers.
In any case, we have design and development experts here with us who will shed light on this matter. Over to Kinnari, who will introduce our esteemed speakers for the evening.
Okay, so we are expecting Professor Joshi to be here. So let's wait for him to join in. Okay, thank you all for joining. Again, I see some very happy faces after the food. Yeah, so let's begin. So our beloved Professor Joshi once said that, AJ sir, as you call him, once said that design is a very young discipline and design always keeps you young. So, and we are very happy to see so many of you all young professionals join in today. So without further ado, let's begin with the most awaited event of the evening. So on team designers, we have Gyan. So Gyan here is a product designer at Microsoft, and he's also an IDC alumni. So Gyan particularly is very happy to be here because he thinks we don't call him to IDC enough. So you're always welcome here, Gyan, by the way. So at Microsoft, he's working on Microsoft Word, and in his free time, he's also a recreational coder and a typography enthusiast and enjoys reading science fiction. Next, in the panel, we have Divya, who's also an alumnus of our department. She is currently an associate senior designer at Atlassian. Divya works on the growth team for Jira Service Management. Previously, she has worked with the AI Ops team, which specializes in using AI for incident management. She has a background in fashion and interaction design. She's passionate about women in STEM, mental health awareness, and knowing the world through books and literature. So it's like a homecoming for Gyan and Divya. So next we have Nachiket. Hi, Nachiket. So Nachiket is an alumnus of NID though. And how are you liking it here in IDC, Nachiket? So I think the next face-off should be NID versus IDC. What do you think, Bhavna?
I said we just one team, so we'll play along with that.
Yeah, sure. So we'll have more NID representation soon. So Nachiket is currently working as a user experience designer at IBM. Previously, he has worked as a front-end developer at Tech Mahindra. In his free time, he's a creative nomad who loves to wander through art, books, and nature. So that's our team designer, guys. Please give it up for them. So next in our team developers, we have Ayush, who's an illustrious alumni of IIT Bombay, the computer science department, and also a dear friend. So thank you, Ayush, again for joining. Ayush is an applied data scientist at Microsoft, and he's currently working with the Bing shopping team in India, specializing in product ranking and relevance. He's also worked at Samsung R&D, focusing on AI-driven phone heating reduction. His interaction with designers have been while working on the Bing shopping app again. Next we have is Nikhil on team developers. Nikhil is currently associated with Turtle Mint and has previously worked with TCS and has a background in instrumentation engineering and a knack for programming. So he's passionate about learning new things, and in his free time, he likes to travel and write poems. So that's wonderful, Nikhil. Another developer we have joining online all the way from Bangalore. So another developer we have on our panel is Nagraj. Hi, Nagraj.
Hi.
So Nagraj is an alumnus of VIT. So currently he's working with HP Inc. as framework technical lead for UI. So prior to HP, he's worked as a senior technical manager in Samsung mobiles and printers for various platforms that were developed in-house. And his interaction with designs are bi-weekly about design firmware for new platform developments. So here are the rules, guys. So we will give you one allegation per team, and another team has to defend that allegation. And there'll be a timer displayed on the screen. And we have allocated 10 minutes each allegation. So there'll be designers developers giving allegations on designers, and designers defending them, and designers giving allegations on developers, and developers defending them. So all of that happens in 10 minutes. Okay, and so thank you all again for joining on the panel. So I am supporting team developers. Who all are in for team developers?
Hey,
Okay, okay. So I think AJ sir, if he's around, he was also supporting team developers. And if you all guys did not know, AJ sir also has a background in computer science. So yeah, he's a BTech, right, in computer science from IIT Bombay. Yes. So AJ sir will, when he comes here, he'll also be supporting team developers and not team designers today. So let's hand it over to Bhavna, who will be also the moderator for the event. So over to you, Bhavna. The limelight is all yours.
So we'll start the event. Team designers and team developers. So there would be the first allegations. So once I read the allegation, like this is an allegation from designers to developers. So designers also get an opportunity to add to the allegation before developers justify, and the same goes with the developers also. As soon as we read the allegation, developers can add if they wanted to add anything to that, and then designers get time to defend that. So the first allegation to developers are occasionally you prioritize speed over quality, leading to rushed solutions. So team developer, do you want to add anything to the allegation before designers? Team designers, would you like to add anything before developers start their justification?
Sure, I can go first. So there have been instances where we have an ideal scenario, we have all the Figma files ready. We hand off this document to developers, and the first reaction is that, okay, this is not possible, that's not possible. Can we do this? Can we do that? And sometimes it's not even like, can we do this or can we do that? It's more like, okay, this is not possible at all. And then we start to unpack it, and it's sometimes it either takes too much time or sometimes it's impossible to do. But that is still a compromise on quality. That's a compromise on the product experience, right? And the person who's using the product, they don't care if we have technical constraints or not. They just want to use it. So that is how I've seen some of the projects that I worked on have panned out. So that's it.
Sure. Let me go next. I understand the need for speed when we're working. It's a fast-paced environment. If you're first to market, that gives you an advantage. There's always constraints with time. Something that maybe I would like to hear from you is what do you feel the accumulation of design debt over time when you keep prioritizing speed over quality, and if there's any instances where you feel like it's justified to prioritize speed over quality. And anything from you?
yeah, I would like to start with. Yeah, it is very much valid, and this is our business scenario, right? So why actually we take over delivering more, right? So that is the need of our. At least we see the more we roll out, and also we get more user trials. So the demand earlier is like, okay, people are waiting for the products to release, and then there are consumers who are going to take. So the scenario has changed now. So there are user trials that is going to happen, right? So if we are not delivering multiple features and catering different segments, how we are going to get the feedback? So that would be one aspect why we would be rushing to solutions. And other priority is time to market. So I'm not saying quality is not important, but quality is not the only thing, right? So yeah, we need to provide solutions. That is the other aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I will add to this. So perfection is like really achieved in the first rounds. I mean, it has to be like several iterations, flights, get to know the user opinions, market, then only we can have a like good solution over time.
So I like to add more that there is something called POC, right? So the first thing first, we need POC. If we are not launching something in the market and the product, as you are talking about product is something which we will monetize on. So if we are not getting to that point first, at first point, then what's the point in creating it? Means are you experience wise a great product if we are not actually launching it first? There are many products in the market which have means after ChatGPT, the crossbar, means there are many products which are coming into the market one by one. But ChatGPT got more attention due to what? Because it was launched first. So that's the point. They are also improving 3.5 version, 4, 4.5. They'll go on. But the only thing was that they launched first. So that was their means the strong point or the hold in the market.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing, should we continue to talk about this?
Yeah, we can. So we have developers here, right? How many of y'all are supporting team developers or have worked or are developers? Yeah, so you would definitely like to take this.
So it's more about everything in tech business product. Everything is about trade-off. What trade-off you are ready to make. So sometimes it's quality, sometimes you want to make a perfect, but there is nothing such as perfect. You know, you crave for perfection, but you lose your customer in the end. So sometimes the design or some things you have to like compromise in the as Nikhil said, like there is some kind of feedback that we are actively getting as like how it's doing as a part of business, as a part of monetization. Then we can make an incremental release. But definitely quality is one thing that you have to maintain consistently. So that's also a considerable point.
Thanks a lot, Manish. Let's give it to team designers now. Let's have some claps going on.
Yeah, if you have more points, we can continue.
Okay, so I think I understand the point of first building a minimum viable product, getting it to market, getting feedback, iterating. The first version doesn't need to be perfect, and done definitely is better than perfect. So I understand that. And also when you're a team with limited resources, you have a limited number of engineering hours, you are going to try and optimize for time. And then for any given task, there's an effort required and an impact you think it might achieve. I feel the challenge is that anything that has low impact just gets ignored altogether. Anything that's high impact but low effort gets done immediately. That's what you tend to focus on. And anything that's high effort and high impact, just you put in the backlog and then you never get to. So there are certain things which would make a real impact to the user experience, but because they will take effort to understand, they are difficult challenges. It feels like a lot of times we just never get to those things, and then they remain a user pain point forever. Any thoughts on that?
So yeah, means you talked about the backlog which we are creating for that. So the thing is that if the feature of the thing, if the experience is that much of importance, then we'll get that feedback from the ground. So the product, if it requires that, then it will become a P0 point. That's the priority. We need to do that. Otherwise, the product will fail. So that feedbacks we are getting constantly from we can say ground. So for that point, if we have pushed some things to backlog, and if we are getting that priority, then we will eventually develop that. That's the thing. Means we will not push all the design feedbacks or all the design things experience wise to backlog. But the only thing is the things which are on most priority, we have to prioritize that, because there are many things. There are crucial security related features. security related things, production situation. So we have to compromise on something.
And also every time we have to see how many people we are actually blocking, or how many development teams, if they're able to progress, right, then only the next cycle also phase also would start. So we need to see that unblocking as well to move forward. Yeah. So there are scenarios also, right? It is not always like only low effort and high importance would take into picture, right? It is also about how frequently you are about to use that feature also, based upon different market analysis also, right? So even those scenarios also would come into picture.
There's a 80-20 concept. Means 80% of people are using 20% of features. So that must taken into picture first of all. Then only we can emphasize more on that part, other parts.
How are we on time? Are we done with the first allegation?
Yeah, we have time, but
Okay.
if we are done with like our thoughts, we can move to the next.
So I just want to add like something to conclude. As designers, sometimes we get too idealistic because of the nature of our craft. Right? We're not building these things. We're envisioning something that doesn't work. Actually, I mean, you have the developers have to actually code it to make it work. So what's worked for us is, and this is also something that's debated a lot in design, like should designers code? Should they understand code? Should they be able to code? And once designers are able to understand the conceptual model of how code works, that also helps them present their designs, more effective designs for the developers. And that sort of bridges that gap between hyper idealism versus hyper pragmatism. Like somewhere we're able to meet midway. And that's something that's that might help solve a case like this.
Okay, so we have one more allegation from our audience that I guess it's for designers. So once we start having allegations on designer, we can cover it in that.
Are we going to switch, or are we going to keep doing one side? I think
No, it's a switch. So now next allegation is, yeah. So now next allegation is on designer from the developer side. So that's how we stay equal and we maintain our equilibrium as well. So are you ready for the next allegation? And yeah, it's an allegation on design to from the developers to designers. So you create design that are visually appealing but difficult to implement within the given timeline. So similar allegation, one of our audience has also put up that most of the time client think that it's a very easy to make, why it's not done, and that's how we are losing trust. So we really wanted to know from designers that how they maintain this trust while balancing the user need and the business feasibility. But before designers start answering developers, would you like to add anything to the allegation?
Yeah, I would like to give one example to explain this. So the advent of maybe this VFX movies, right? Maybe okay, Bahubali or recent Oppenheimer, anything. So once you start imagination, or you start visualizing, you feel wow, it is good. Then the same thing should not be applied everywhere. So it is apt at one point, yeah, it has to be applied there, but not everywhere, right? And to bring up this kind of thing in the firmware or in the any web technology also, right? It involves a lot of layering and also different what do you say, design concepts, and also including software and hardware enhancements. All those things need to be thought about. So we cannot do this all the time. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah, designers, you can take.
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from, but we being designers, we are, taught and we believe in thinking out of the box, creating a delightful experience for the users, creating competition in the market by, giving that wow factor which other products would have not had. And that's how you compete uh, and create leverage for your designs. And that's the role of a designer to, think outside the box, give innovative solutions for the business to thrive in the market. And that again will have some, uh, impact on the technical side of it. But without that, I don't think so. You can see the exponential growth at times the products I've witnessed in specific industries, maybe e-commerce or you know uh, in various fields. You can have examples where initially the ideas are rebellious, we stretch out, but once you adapt and once you recognize and have cognizance of the fact that it is a bit into the future, but that's where the reality is. And for example, you take examples of AR, Meta, all those things have been, as you said, in the early stages, but when you see the potential, initially it wouldn't have been possible due to the technical feasibility or the constraints that we have in place. But it's our job to, push the boundaries and, push the, extend the limit. So in that way, I think we need to think in the line as to how to improve the experience, how to, always deliver better experiences for the user. And that's where we come from on a fundamental level. So
I also would like to unpack what visually good design is, because as designers, we are taught uh, a very old philosophy, which is form follows function, right? Like if your functionality should be in place and then the form sort of scaffolds over it. And there are projects where you can do a minimum viable experience, do it in Comic Sans font if you want to, and make the buttons clickable. But some products like it depends on the project that you are in. Some products do need that high level of fidelity. It does need to be polished. Like you can't compromise on visual design or aesthetic over there, because maybe it's not the right time. Maybe competitors are doing way better and you need to get it out there. And you creating something that's not visually appealing will actually not engage users, which is where it becomes a tricky situation with the dev teams to convince them that we know that this will increase build time, but this will also increase the number of people who are using the product or engaging with the product.
So user experience means that increases the product line, which comes up into picture after a long amount of time. Means if we are scaling something or if we are improving something in that point, correct? So means if we are developing something in the first phase, yeah, feature wise something. So there are sometimes some of the things which are not needed, they have been placed into that particular domain. There are times when we try to convince designers that this should not be in this particular domain also. Then why are we considering that? So they come with that sort of argument that means we have been into the market, we have checked, we have researched on our things, and we know that it is important. On actual forum, when we are creating those things, and means it basically creates some kind of droppable situation for users also. Means if there is some user experience around it, we have created some sort of animation around it and we have delivered that, and but user is not waiting for that particular value. Means some sort of optimization needs to be done on that part. If there is basically, if a search box is inserted into a particular panel and we are means we are wasting more resources on that than the total amount generated on that particular platform, then what's the use of that?
Hello. So I think what you're saying is sometimes the um, sometimes there's no reason for the some kind of visual enhancement to exist. There's no reason for something to animate in. There's no reason for a button to have extra ornamentation. And in those cases, I think I'm completely aligned with you. If you're doing something that actually degrades the user experience, then that's just a bad design. Then, and if you're building something that actively harms the user experience, that I also agree is bad design. Obviously, you'll try your best to not end up with those scenarios. You'll try and do user research. You'll try and make sure that the things that you're building are actually required by users, because otherwise you don't have product market fit. Nobody will use your app. Your startup will die. And so obviously that's bad and terrible. However, I think maybe the original allegation was that sometimes visually appealing designs take time to create. And I think something interesting that I've been finding these days is that design tools are actually moving more and more towards code. And say if you use Figma these days, Figma has variables, it has states, components can have different states. You can animate between a hover state, a click state, and these days with the variables, you can actually create fairly detailed prototypes that are approaching code. If you use something like Webflow, that gives you a UI to create functional websites. And even with Figma, you can get design details to a degree where you can maybe use a plugin and export it as working code. So sometimes I find it difficult to understand why something that can be expressed in a design software, and I can express exactly what the CSS values are or the motion curves are. I can export an animation as a JSON and something like Lottie will play it back. Sometimes it becomes difficult for me to understand why it can't be implemented if I can do it in the design software and the design software maps one-to-one with how something gets implemented.
Yeah, I can take that actually. So it is a very good point that you have put, and this is the same point which I hear from a lot of designers as well. So what is the configuration that the Figma tool or any other software the designers uses, right? Where you are going to design and try to play. So that's very high-end processor with lot of processing power, right? But that is not the end user environment. We are not going to give Mac PCs to everyone. We are not going to give iPhones to everyone, right? So we are in a category where, so the UPI Lite is also successful, right? Where we don't have much rich user experience. So what we are trying to say here in this part is, see, we have from very low end segment to very high end segment. So Lottie is also a very good example where we are bringing down the speed of execution. But when an animation is playing and also some other process is coming in a printer or in a small embedded phone. So the moment we say embedded, right? So we need to have a definite user response time. It is not like cannot wait for 2 minutes. It is not even in minutes actually. In RTOS we say seconds. We have to get back to them. So now with these constraints, we'll not be able to deliver rich experiences on all the level of platforms. So we can give in a high processor, but not everyone is going to buy a high processor and high memory device, right? So that is our major concern whenever we say difficult to implement, because visual aspect would take up almost all the CPU. So actual business logic, what is going to be done, right, will not get any CPU. So you can see a sluggish appearance there.
So I guess we can conclude in that direction that designers are getting better tool for their creative expressions as compared to developers, and that's how the entire struggle is taking place.
Yeah, they need to be creative. Otherwise, yeah, we cannot get a difference, right? We will continue the same experience for decades. But yeah, we need to see the environment or what do you say, domain also where it is going to be applied.
I think Bhavna, I see what you're doing there. I can't resist. I have to add something to that. So I think I understand wanting everyone to have an experience that works. And if some people with low end devices are just, if the experience just doesn't work for them, that's bad. But I also don't think that you should only design for the worst possible device and not have progressive enhancements for better devices, because I don't think we're at the point where animating a little button on a mobile phone will take up 100% of CPU time. I understand that was an exaggeration, but we can have some nice things. I think we deserve a little treat now and then. You deserve a little explosive animation when you subscribe to our channel. I think it's okay to have that much fun.
Yeah, phone, I don't think, I mean, I'm not saying in respect to phone, but yeah, it is in probably, if you say I'm closely working with printer now, yes, during a job, if there are heavy animations, yeah, printer is going to hang in a medium, not in a high end. So high end you can do more animations also, but yeah, there are different environments. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I think Manish also has to add up something.
Thanks. Just a little add up. So I think why developers are so concerned about doing this, because there is a Google page ranking and everything. Like when you search something, your website should come up first. So the what devs want is like you should be searchable, you should be number one, and like totally based on how fast your page loads, when the first content is there, when the whole page is loaded. So all those ranking based on that page ranking. So that little animation that you added 2 seconds in our page and dropped down our ranking to 10. So now everybody, like whenever somebody search, they get extra 9 product in the market and yours is 10. So that's one concern that devs have while while they are putting the allegation here. So SEO is one factor. Yeah.
And as part of our ranking team, I can say for sure, like it's not based on animations or those things, the ranking, the top pages that loads up. It's always the relatable content and the the filtered content that we show, that we page rank up. So yeah, I agree with you on that point.
So with a little trade-off here, we are moving to the next allegation. But it's a really great discussion. Sure.
Sure.
When we talk about ranking and speed and SEO, there's also another, I mean, and this can be majority of the audience that we are catering to, majority of the businesses are getting impacted because of this, but there are also products and services where people line up, wait for entire day to just experience that. So we need to keep in mind that delightful experiences are also equally important, if not less, to just bring in more business at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I think it really depends on the sort of project you're doing, the sort of app you're working on, the sort of website you're working on. Not everything has to be super functional, not everything has to be super aesthetic. It's highly dependent on what you're working on.
All right. With that, we move to the next allegation to developers. So the allegation is you may not fully prioritize scalability in design, which make future changes challenging. Designers, do you want to add something to the allegation before developers start defending?
Bhavna, I think let's have the audience also add to this now.
Yeah, sure.
Because we have so many bright young designers here. Anybody wants to add? You can just raise your hand. Okay, I think let's have them take that.
I think, firstly, I'd just like a clarification of what this is supposed to mean. I'm not quite sure. Prioritizing scalability in what way? Scalability in being able to handle more users, because then I don't even know if that's an allegation I've ever had for developers, but happy to hear more.
Yeah, so while we were designing these allegations, few things came in our mind that when designers are designing, they are designing for certain use cases, certain user aspects. But when it is getting implemented, tech feasibility take over, and that's how in the allegation part, it's like it happens that let's do it for now, but what might be, or what might be the future speculation in terms of upcoming changes, so those are not considered, and that's how it create a tech debt and UX debt as well for both the teams.
Any of you have anything to add?
I'm just thinking about the scalability bit. Yeah.
Can you?
Hello. See, actually, all tools we have, like even the XD, all tools have the development mode, right? And you have the scalability tools inside. Whenever we are designing, we are considering the scalability, correct? When we are designing, we are considering scalability. This allegation is false. And all the tools are making easy for development, not for the design. It's my thoughts.
Okay, I think that was more confident as an allegation than any of us have been so far, but I'm interested in hearing what you folks think.
So basically, it's an allegation that scalability, as a developer, we are not focusing on that. Correct. So
Yeah, it's a technical design is what I understand from this allegation. So it is in this fashion, at least what I am able to visualize from this is, okay, so there are 4 segments. For example, a home segment, or one is an enterprise segment, wherein someone is who is using a BlackBerry and someone who is using a Nokia. So when we are going to give a message feature, now requirements are going to come as, okay, a message feature has to be given. So now it has to have the features for a small device also, and it has to be there for a bigger device also. So now usually how designers think is, yeah, so these are all the products which are in my mind, and when I'm going to propose something, am I taking up the next feature also next probably 2-3 years, right? And see whether it is meeting or not. So now sometimes what happens when those kind of proposal comes, right? Maybe so designers are going to propose, but from this allegation what I understand is, no, developers will not consider that and implement or design only the minimal features which we are currently focusing on the product. And when the new product comes, right, it is no more scalable because we have to change the design. It may need to have more features, or more software part needs to be there, or maybe hardware also. So I would take the question in those lines. Yeah, there are sometimes chances that this happened in the past in some areas, but yeah, most of the scenarios when we are segregating uh, different zones, right? Different zones, I mean, is as we progress, this would be minimal because we have more product understanding, and also more awareness is there even on the internet. But yeah, it may likely happen based upon how it is orchestrated to the development community and how that design would have happened also to optimize the resources.
So I just want to add few points here. So like Nagraj is working for HP, and which is widely known for the printer. So most of his examples are from the printing world, and that's how he is referring to the different categories of printers, that some of the printer are specifically designed for home uses, some are designed for enterprise uses, and some are designed for architectural printing. So as he also supported the allegation that I'm on the opposite side of his team. So like when we were designing, we need to design for all the different sizes, but when it come to the dev, we need to take care that dev would have one common behavior for all the different devices. So how we can optimize our design that it get implemented well across all the devices.
I think in this case, I'm actually with the engineers. If it's hard enough getting your work to completely match the specs, if you're thinking of something that goes beyond the spec, future scalability that's not even defined, who knows? Who knows whether you'll even exist in a year from now, or whether.
Yeah, rolling out a feature is more important.
Yeah, we just cut you off
The
because
designer doesn't like your
yeah, we didn't like it. Can I add something? I still don't understand the question really well, but what's happened with us is that we work on legacy code, which was written in 2003, and you want to make any change to the product that we work on, it's nearly impossible. Like it's impossible. They'd be like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't create this button here, you can't put that link here, and then it's just too many constraints to work with, and that is the problem with scalability that we have now. That when we work with um, devs and we communicate that this is what we want to do, and we still cut down the scope to make it workable. Sometimes it's not possible to do. What do you think about that?
So yeah, the legacy code part, which I often face, means this depends on the business owners or the people who are running them, that how they want to do. But something, if it is legacy code and we are not able to change it, then it's technical constraint also. Means it's not in our hand. We are trying to tweak it as much as possible, but we are not able to. So that's our limit at that point of time. So if something is rewritten, then we'll surely do that. Means we have the capability if something is rewritten, but currently we are not having that capability, so we are pushing that to backlog.
Yeah, just to add on that, like I think now I'm getting a picture of what scalability actually means in terms of like when we talk about design tools like Figma and Sketch, like that we have seen a lot of growth in terms of how user friendly and designer friendly they have become. We are able to, give accurate CSS, code for developers, that part is also improving. We can, easily toggle between and create better responsive adaptive designs with our tools, which was not the case a few years back. Do you think there needs to be, is there a gap between, a similar tool or enabler which can fit in and help you achieve uh, uh, or get to speed the way we designers are, flexible with the scalability part of the design? I mean, we will be able to, quickly add a button, but I assume that it'll take a bit more longer for you to develop that button. So in terms of that, I think is that a technical constraint hampering the business growth in some sense?
So yeah, means we can go in that way, that if you are developing something, scaling a product, then the way which is implemented depends on that. It's currently how it is being implemented in particular organization. If something is straightforward that we have to add a button on that scale, then we can do it. If the thing on scalability that we have to add multiple fields based on some different fields, and we are adding those experiences, basically we are adding those experiences, but if it depends on different kinds of business logic also. So if it is driven by that point, then it might take time. So that's the issue while creating it.
I mean, I'll like to add on this. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, creating a button is one thing, and getting the relevant data for it is another thing. I mean, I was working on some problem, and So we work on scenarios like Black Friday and other scenarios. So in shopping page, we wanted to only show the Black Friday product. So I mean, it's easy, very easy to just show that button Black Friday. I mean, I think UX designer can also easily do it. But to get the data and to work it in the ranking stack and to just to get that filter and just to filter out the Black Friday products, what we observed was that computation that was it was taking. It was that computational cost was more than the revenue it was going to generate. So, I mean, it's not that straightforward as well. I mean, there are a lot of elements that goes behind it.
So, is it possible? So, because the example that I took, because I work in enterprise software, and most enterprise tools aren't the best looking, right? Like they're not the most user-friendly products. But because this code was written many, many years ago, how do we prevent a situation like that for the future? What are your thoughts on that? Or is it preventable in the first place?
Yeah, we can always prepare for it. I mean, if we discuss those scenarios, I mean, it is like we have to be ready for it. I mean, we can't just like if basis on these things can't be implemented on the like immediate availability. I mean, if the holiday season is coming next week, I mean, it's not easy for us to prepare 1 week before. I mean, we have to give in that much time. I mean, those changes do take time for old codes, and it's not that easy. I mean, and it's always like those codes have been worked like iteratively. I mean, people come and go, leave the company, and half of the understanding of those codes are already lost. I mean, I don't think so. Like in my team also, like people know about the full flow of the code still. I mean, we are a hard time to find out the bugs. I mean, where is the latency coming from? Adding of that filter, just it was like it doubled the time web page. I mean, how is it possible? So I mean,
Yeah, I
that's the
think
issue.
I'm with Gyan now. I think your job's really hard.
I mean, scalability you have considered while, as they said, that scalability you have considered while developing, but it needs to be discussed with the developers at the time of creating. So we design a system in that way, means we don't know what the limitations are. So we create a system based on those possibilities, and we create 1 to 2 scenarios extra based on that. But if the scalability which you have designed needs to be discussed with developers, so basically they will create a system or framework in that format. So it will eventually have both of us. Front end is not that code which you are writing or which you are seeing. Means if clicking on a box, clicking on a checkbox will populate 50% of the fields. Yeah, means that's what I'm talking about. Front end is not the CSS HTML which you see. Front end is not that about that. Front end it's more than that. What issue we had, we have to design what have designed, we have to give you the tips. Anything you get.
Even talk about the filtration, even you talk about the filtration thing. Okay, that is the backend of you have to do it. There is no option. We can't do that. But the front end code that you have to design, you just have to copy paste and take it ahead.
That's
That 20% work is done, right?
That's what I'm talking about. Front end is not what Figma gives us.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not the
Figma gives
case.
you
No,
development mode.
I'm talking that only Figma helps us. That's definitely Figma helps us now because of the dev mode and all the things. It provides us something which is CSS and that sort of things.
Even CSS, even there is a AI that tool that give you the mule sort things. Everything give
Yeah.
you the code and you can start rolling on the development mode.
Yeah, it definitely helps us. It
Yeah.
definitely
Okay,
helps.
okay. I think we get it. Maybe we should move on to the next one. Thank you, sir. I understand it
Thanks,
gives the
thanks a lot.
CSS, but apparently that's not enough.
I guess this event would help to develop better empathy between both the teams and
Definitely.
give the chance to step into others' shoe as well. So our next allegation is for designers. So team developers says that you often disregard responsive design principles, leading to inconsistent user experiences across different devices and screen sizes. Developers, do you like to add anything to the allegation?
Yeah, I would like to add because I face this a lot.
Okay.
I am in regular conversation with designers for that. Means they are creating a particular design for a particular screen size and that's it. Because I don't know how my designer team works or something. But eventually our product owners also says that our designer team doesn't know how to create web designs. They're on that only. They only emphasize on mobile designs. This is how our team works. I'm not generalizing it, but yeah. So they create just two designs, that is for web and that is for mobile. And creating those designs, they'll means they're in that way, there are different kinds of screen. So how should we portray that? Means there are some elements which we need to show in that particular amount. If the user is minimizing the screen size, then how those components would fit? Means the design is not straightforward like that, na? That we are vertically aligning some components or horizontally aligning some components. It's based on grid also sometimes, that we are showing two components side by side. We are showing something side by side. So how would we handle that?
Designers.
Okay, so I think this problem is it might happen, but one is the aptitude of the designer. I think good designers should be able to gauge that this experience is not just for web, but also for mobile, also perhaps accessibility and so on, right? So one is the aptitude. And secondly, I think a good design system would solve a problem. If you have the right components and the designer knows how to make them work, that should solve it. But if despite that the designer's not doing it, yeah, you should hold the gun towards us.
I think it is also dependent on the organization. Like, in startup, everything is agile and moving very fast, and we may not have that requirement for designers previously, that we need to have a responsive design, and that could come in later. And that's where I think again, the previous allegation was in terms of you not able to scale. It's for us when we get another requirement from business where we have to adapt quickly. We have to create a responsive design or adaptive design or a design for mobile. I think the tools are getting there, but it's again, as you said, we are operating in grid system, the components change. So there are a lot of, dynamics involved in it. But again, I also think that it's dependent on the maturity of the organization, the team that is leading, foreseeing certain things. If you can, account for that, it's I think a lot of stakeholders are involved in this, more from the business point of view again. But I think, as Divya mentioned, majority of the team ability to grasp things forehand can help.
So Manish has something to add. Yeah. I also want to ask Nikhil, how much do you bash designers in general in your organization?
No, not
You want to answer that question?
Shouldn't speak from that. Doing that.
So I'm just asking, like, does Figma give the similar feature for you also, guys, like to make a responsive? Then why can't you? I'm just curious, like if Figma is so smart.
I really appreciate developer for one thing that recently I worked on the Mexican project. I can't disclose the name, but I can tell you the experience. There were 100 screens of iOS screens. We have to do it. Okay, 100 screen app for iOS and 100 screen for the Android also. So that time again challenge for the short time we have to do it. Okay, so that time developer said you don't have to do it. We'll use the responsive code from the Android and iOS will be adopted. So that time they are very developer was very helpful on that time. Okay, and even that's again with the help of tools that what we have, Figma and Sketch. You can get that.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, that we do have the we do have the right tools to do that. I've also seen that on Wix, on Webflow, where you can just change the view and see how it looks like on different devices. I think awareness is increasing, adoption is not. So it's slowly happening, but it's a recognized problem.
So I think the challenge that we're talking about here is effectively converting some idea in a designer's head into something that's working code. And so a real life challenge that breaks designers' little dreams in their heads is the fact that your devices can be different. You can be running on a mobile device, you can be running on a tablet, you can be running on a desktop. If you're on a desktop with a keyboard and mouse, you can do very fine input. If you're using a touch device, it has your touch targets need to be a lot larger. And all of these are things that I feel at the level of maturity the industry is at, most people should know and understand. And if they don't, then hopefully educate them and next time they will know. Something that continues to be a little bit of a challenge is accurately handing off some of these details. So if say as a developer you think in terms of breakpoints, that there is a 600 with breakpoint, then a 800, then 1,000, it gets really difficult for a designer who doesn't understand how code works to think in the similar way. And it's not just that, there are multiple variables. There's a dark mode, light mode, potentially other color themes, and all of these things are interacting with each other to provide cases. uh, and suppose you have 3 or 4 variables on, and they can each have 2 or 3 states. You have a sidebar that comes in and out. um, you sometimes as a designer end up in a state where if I wanted to show you every single possible state for the app, I would have to make some 600 screens. Or I do something clever which Figma now lets you do, which is create states within a component, and then I have to explain that this component has these 4 states. But then what do I do? Do I show you the full app with every single state? And that again starts feeling like I might be doing redundant work. It might be enough to walk over to your seat and say, this is how it will work. I think you understand, and I think I understand. Because creating documentation takes time, and that's time that you could be using to do something else. And I think with a lot of standard responsive behavior with a website, I think it's just standardized to the point where I usually don't even think about it too much. If there's a 3 grid that's horizontal, you will make it vertical. That's just how you handle a lot of these things. I understand that there's certain cases where the translation is more complicated than it was horizontal, now make it vertical. But in so many cases, it's just that sometimes I find it difficult that we're still talking about it. Any framework these days will handle it automatically for you. And I'm really sorry about the designer who doesn't seem to know that mobile phones are smaller. I'm just surprised.
So we do get this kind of challenge, but our major concern here is not about why it has missed, right? But the feedback. So when is the feedback that is coming is very late. The cost of applying that feedback again to make it work right, it becomes a very costly affair. Yeah, it could have been discovered when the designer proposes to the developer, but yeah, even developer may start missing, right? But if this has been discovered at a developer level, this is the X cost. If it have been discovered at a designer level, it would be probably X by 2 itself, the cost. So that is our major concern. Eventually we have to roll out the feature, but yeah, how well we are rolling out the feature is very important. That is our major challenge actually.
I agree with that actually, and I think that if you are going to work as a designer and build software, and if you are going to be a developer who works with designers, constant communication and learning from each other is what will get you to the next step in your career. As you and I've seen this with people at Microsoft. As you grow in your career, developers start thinking more like product managers and more like designers. Design leaders will start thinking about product issues, and you just start thinking of yourself as a product maker. And something that's really humbled me sometimes when I've thought, my designs are perfect, no problem with my designs, is that we've introduced a new process where every time a piece of code hits our internal builds, you get a notification telling you to look at it and review it. And there's a checklist of things. So we look at things like how does the website react if you make the window smaller or larger, if you switch between dark mode, light mode, if you're logged in versus not logged in, if you're a premium user versus not a premium user, does the keyboard, if you try to use it with keyboard only, does it work? If you try to use it with voiceover, does it work? And so there's so many cases which otherwise I would not think of. And now that I have to test the build and I realize I didn't even think about it. So how do I complain that it doesn't work? I think that's really taught me a few things, and it's also humbled me as to how difficult and some of the hidden complexities in implementing things that I wasn't thinking of earlier. So I think that's been a process change that has helped me grow as a designer and understand some of the constraints that otherwise were invisible to me.
Yeah, I second what Gyan said, and I also agree with you because we ran into a similar issue with accessibility. So most of our products were extremely inaccessible, and so these products have been in the market since quite some time, and then a very big organization sued us for $1 million, saying that your product can't be used by everyone, and that's when we started to look at all text. We started to look at so many of those things that developers used to pick up on, and we used to not implement them on time. And we did a process change. We try to bring up accessibility much earlier in the design cycle, so that it doesn't come after development is done. It doesn't come once it's going to be released into prod, and that improved our first of all, that improved timelines, and it also improved it made the frustration a lot less in the team.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of them. It's also about how you as a unit, as a team function. Like there will be sometimes experienced developers who have understanding of how things fall out at the end. So, when we are addressing a problem, if it's a fresh, you have that opportunity to, work with the product owners, developers, designers, testers, including everyone on the team and getting them on the same page, voicing out everyone's concerns, even if it's a developer who will be designing it first, but then later you will be building it out. So that level of maturity comes with a lot more experience and seeing such things. So I think it's more of having that education and awareness within the teams and enabling each other to perform better next time.
Very nice thoughts. So it's a really like I'm enjoying this conversation and developing a understanding from both the perspective that how what are the developers pain points and what are the designers pain point. And I guess over the period of time we cannot be in conflicting space. We need to collaborate, and we do collaborate at this point as well. But I guess this kind of a conversation would help us to understand each other's perspective better and help us to design and develop better products for our users and businesses as well. So let's move to the next allegation. This is on designers. This is for developers from the designer side. So it is said that you occasionally resist design feedback, hindering collaboration and preventing design improvements. Designers, you want to add something to that? This
is an allegation by us to them. Okay, interesting. I think this is a more of a communication issue, and
if you think that you haven't faced this, then it can be a false or pseudo allegation as well.
Sure, hold on.
I'd like to add one thing on this. Whenever we design, once design is ready and it's good for the development, It's never come to us after a development for design review. This happens. Why it's not? Because we will come up with a lot of things that there's a pixel issue, there is a shadow issue, there is some alignment issue. This happens every time.
Yeah, just something before you folks start. So I think the inability to accept feedback is not really a developer thing so much as it's a human thing. Nobody likes hearing that the thing that you just spent 1 week of your life on is trash. So I do think that accepting feedback when it's well-meaning feedback, when someone has thought about your work and is trying to give you feedback, is a gift, and it's an opportunity for self-reflection, self-improvement, and one should take it in that sense. Like it's a chance to do something better and improve yourself, but that's really hard to do because nobody likes being told that you're doing bad work. And so maybe something that I'd like to hear from you about is that when in the process do you think feedback is helpful, and how should it be phrased for it to be actionable, for it to actually be useful, as opposed to you spent all this time doing something, there were some ambiguities, now the designers coming and telling you ye kya kachra bana diya hai. So how do you think it can be actually helpful to receive feedback?
So definitely for the first point, basically that's an organization thing, first of all, because in our process we go for a design UAT. After we are completing a feature, we are basically giving these things to designer and product owners, both of them, that functionality wise if the product is complete or not, and design wise if the product is ready or not. Then design will give us feedback on that. So before going live, or before that, we'll basically make those changes. If some of the changes which are not blockers, then we'll move forward for that. And design also agrees on that, that this is not a blocker, but this could be improved. So we work on that way. For embedded side or for that side means basically we would be developing some prototype. So we could get design feedback on that prototype. Means if we are getting feedbacks on that prototype, then we'll basically implement and produce those things. So in this cycle, we can implement a design UAT at the prototype level, basically.
Is there anything in the chat, Bhavna, that you would like to say?
No.
I like to add something here. It's the first part is giving feedback, and the second part is how do you give feedback and who's giving the feedback to whom. And I've noticed that, I mean, we're human beings after all, and it's not nice to hear things being said in a certain way from a certain person. So sometimes what we do is instead of directly giving feedback, we tell their managers and they're able to give the feedback in the right way. And that's helped quite a bit to improve processes, because then we realize that it's not just, it's not an allegation. It's more of constructive feedback to work better as a team, because eventually we're not developers and designers, we are a team, right? And the other thing that we do is something like a retrospective or a reflective exercise where the entire team comes together and we list down things that went well, and then we also list down things that did not go well, and it's an anonymous poll so that things get brought up, but it's not like anyone's being put on the spot or thrown under the bus in front of everyone else. And that also improves team morale in the end.
Yeah, just to add, I think, and in the allegation it says resist design feedback, but I think it's also, not necessarily just resist. It's sometimes not being proactive in terms of, and it's on both sides. To have a collaborative approach to work towards the better design, and in the initial leg of the project wherein you're just getting handed over a Figma file or in that sense, and when you are taking it you will have certain questions. I've seen that at times designers would immediately start developing because you also have a timeline to chase, but then when we get to that phase of UAT and issues come, I think we can address that much earlier in the phase where we have as you said, retrospective or playbacks as we call, where you can play back what your understanding is from the design. We can sit together as a team with the product owner who have had written down the function requirement. If you have any technical constraints or that would go ahead, we can address that in the first leg, wherein so that it's all clear and everyone's on the same page rather than creating technical dips later on.
Yeah, to be frank, it is more on a negotiation how we end up. So two factors usually that comes to us, and we try to, what do you say, resist is okay, too many revisions. So one thing is like design A, okay, something is working and something is not working, again we change. So when this design change becomes repetitive, right, there will be a resistance. And the other thing is the priority. So these features have to go to the market. So now going to the market is more important than how in the product A it went and product B I want to show the differentiation. But because of this change, if the product itself doesn't have this feature, that is a loss for the company, right? So these are the main two aspects which we try to resist, but not for a future aspect.
I hear you, and that's something that we faced in our company as well. Like when we were doing some of our projects, in one of our projects, we did all of the design work and then we showed it to the devs in high fidelity. And they said, this is not possible. And then we went back and then we spent another 1 month designing. And this brought in a lot of distance between the dev team and the design team. And that was a big learning because the project got extended till 8 months. And when we gave feedback to the devs that you're not implementing our design, it was not taken correctly because it felt like we were blaming them. But at the same time, we were not able to understand their point of view. So what we started to do was we started to include the devs in every part of the design process. Even when we had paper sketches, we would sit and ask them, hey, is this possible or not? And through that co-creation model, the devs also started to give ideas on how do we improve this feature, or we started to think of the product. So that largely improved the way we work together, but it also improved the camaraderie between the two pillars of a product.
I think something that's helped me personally, but this is also something that took a while to internalize, is to not start defending yourself when someone is giving feedback. And this is a tendency I think people who are just starting out in their careers tend to have a little more. Someone will start telling them something and they'll immediately be like, but this is what I was doing. And I think in those moments, it's best to just shut up and listen and then evaluate later whether you feel the feedback is valid or not, or whether there are other factors that are limiting why you can or can't do it. But just listening to feedback and being open to it in the moment, I think is a skill that really helps in your career.
I guess you want to add something, Ayush?
I was telling that constructive feedback is always appreciated. That's the case. But the way it conveys to a particular person, that is what matters. So yeah.
All right, let's move to the next allegation. It's on designers. Yeah, we are on time, but
Bhavna, what is the count of this allocation? This is the last?
yeah, it's the third allegation. After that, we have one more for both the sides.
Okay.
So we are planning to wrap it up in 20 minutes, and rest depend on your discussions. So it's for designers that you less prioritize the technical feasibility of your design choices. Developers, would you like to add anything before they
Actually,
start?
we have discussed this in our previous allegations also. That basically what he told, that Black Friday button one, it fits completely into this. That design capability should be means the design feasibility should be involved with technical abilities to how to perform these things.
So I do have a point here, and please don't cut me off, but I'm going to be on the developer side again.
Sure.
Uh, so as a designer, you're often trying to show a vision of something that can be, and not necessarily you're not necessarily very grounded while you're doing that process of open-ended creative thinking, because I think you can't start from a place of this is the reality, this is how it is. How can I, if you only think in terms of incremental improvements, that's the only type of improvement you'll make. And I actually think it is not the job of the designer to talk about the technical feasibility, because I don't understand what you do as well as you do. So if within my thought process, I'm already eliminating some ideas because I think that this is probably not feasible from an engineering standpoint, then I'm probably not bringing some ideas to the table that maybe you tell me this is actually not as hard as you might imagine. Maybe this is actually something we can look into and something that we can do. So I think uh, this I always prefer as a conversation where the developer tells me whether they think it's doable, whether it's not, whether it's easy, whether it's not. And I don't think this is a decision I necessarily feel comfortable making, and therefore not a decision that I think I should even make.
It's always a process. Means you involve developers involve designers with the current things, and eventually you make the product work.
I also think this is also solvable with a good, robust design system. If you have uh, if you're working on a product that already has a well set practice of how different components should be used, I don't think technical feasibility becomes a huge issue then. And even after that, if the devs are not able to implement, then it might be good to have a conversation on that and try to understand what's the technical issue there.
So yeah, I would like to add something that basically technical feasibility is in that sense that we are using some framework around that. So and basically designer might not be having idea around what the framework developers are using for basic styling or something like that. So if we are creating something on top of that, so we would be inheriting those things from that. It might be possible in some case that we are able to create a perfect design based on perfect design as it is mentioned in Figma. But there are some cases which needs to be reworked on. So that sort of time means, is there any way that designers could create something based on the particular framework which we would suggest that this is what we are using organizational wise? So you can create things on top of that or something. Is there a way?
I think it ties to the point that I made before, that if we bring the dev and design together early in the process, this becomes a lot small as a problem. Because if we bring devs right in the end, it's a surprise for them, right? So I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's also again, depends on the organization. If you have having like legacy systems, for example, like old softwares, uh, the understanding has evolved, and there's very little space, and there's always a back and forth. I think a major challenge and a clash with developers and designers would come where the organization is very young, starting afresh. Everyone is trying to understand the product, everyone's trying to bring in something new to the table. There's a lot of stakeholders involved. There's pressure on the designers. I mean, in that situation, I think a designer would want to think out of the box, bring something new to the table, and in that case, he wouldn't want to think of the technical feasibility at that point. I think what will help is developer being on the team again. When the ideation is done, when the businesses are making decision, you voice out that issue at that point, because even we won't be able to understand how intense impact it can have unless we discuss that. So I think it's a larger discussion to have with the business product owners and designers together.
One classic example is in this fashion. So if we take the mobile environment, so at least a few years back, what is the highest priority? call and message. So if call is coming, no other application can come over it. And it has been in tradition for at least past 20 years. Now, most of the systems are designed in such a way that, okay, these are the processes which can never be hidden or which cannot overlap on that. But now if we see, call is no more a mandatory feature. So even try regulations and all those also doesn't mandate, except for probably SOS when it is logged, right? Now the new systems which are coming up, right, has done that ability. And if you want to bring these kind of app and features on a old product which doesn't have these feasibilities, right, the rework cost is too heavy. So those are also some of the things which we are going ahead, right? We may not know the past. So having some of that domain knowledge or domain understanding at all the levels also would be beneficial to bridge this gap.
I guess we really have a good take here that including developers in the design process early really makes sense what like we are discussing. And so I can that can reduce the lot of rework, as Divya was mentioning her experience that when they started including developer with the paper sketches, so it has helped them to reduce the increased timeline. So I guess yeah, it's a really nice take for all of us. So with that, let's move to the next allegation, and this would be the last allegation for each team. So next allegation to developers that you don't follow pixel perfect design specification and guidelines. So I guess which we are discussing in bits and pieces in start, but still if you have as a designer any other points to add on it before developers start defending it.
Okay, super controversial, but I think there are great developers and there are not so great developers. And it's it again,
I agree. I agree.
I think it depends on the aptitude as well. There are some front-end engineers that I work with and they really make pixel perfect designs because they're so interested in their craft. They're so interested in front-end development. But then there are developers who do a decent job of making it, and then they don't realize that, look, this is, we don't need it to be 48 pixels, we want it 24 and so on. And then we have to sort of meet them and tell them that, see, this is the big experience trade-off we're making. And yeah, I don't know how to solve this problem, but because it's an aptitude and it's a skill set issue. But what do you think of that?
Just before we go, I think Rashmi on chat said same for designers as well. So if you throw them, you have to receive them also. So I think yeah, go ahead though.
So basically, as you said, it totally on developers how skilled a developer is. But as most of the people face while developing a pixel perfect website, a pixel perfect app, the thing which constraint is the basically responsiveness. Basically, with what we are working currently, there are many grid-based systems. So while working with grids, the responsiveness comes into the picture. And while creating those things, the pixel perfectness somewhat misses. It happens. So at that level means there are some times that we have to ignore the pixel perfectness. We are trying that if it is readable, if it is means affordable for a product, then we are going with it. But yeah, that's equally costing us that it is entering the design experience. So yeah.
So I have a fun story. There's a new developer on my team. This guy is fresh out of undergrad. This is his first job, and he was put on developing something for Microsoft Word, which is a very complicated piece of software, a lot of legacy code. So it's not nothing is as easy as it seems. Even just aligning text sometimes can be complicated. So I understand why this poor kid is struggling. But he was in the office, he was talking to another developer and he's like, "Hey, designers karte kya hai?" So And then so his developer friend, who's a friend of mine, calls me over and he's like, "Okay, Gyan, can you explain what designers do?" And so I realized he's not trying to make fun of me. He genuinely doesn't understand what my product function does. And so how I tried to, and I had to think about this for a second. What do I do? What do I sit and do all day long? And so how I tried to phrase it for him was that within the structure of a tech company with design, product management, engineering, the purpose of design is actually to save engineering time. If there's 3 or 4 different approaches, and before a developer gets to making them, we can try and explore those, maybe prototype them in some level of detail, get them in front of users and get some feedback. Then the developer only has to make one, or maybe we decide that 2 approaches both have merit and we try and do A/B testing between those. But you don't have to try 4 or 5 different things before you realize that one or two of these is the best possible approach. And so I think pixel perfect details we can keep arguing about. A lot of times just getting something that works is hard enough, and I understand that. That being said, like these days, then with this same new developer, someone else had created some red lines, and they had come to him, and then he did something, and then he's like, okay, this is done, next job. And then he got like some 20 items of feedback because nothing was exactly like the red lines, because he use them as rough suggestions, because he's like, theek hai, fine, I made it. So I think, and then he came to me because he couldn't go to the other designer. He thought maybe I am trustable, and now here I am revealing his secrets. But so he came to me and he's like, "अच्छा जो designer देते हैं exactly वैसे बनाना होता है क्या?" So I think. And then I had to think about why it has to be exactly like how I showed it, how the design have been handed off. Why can't it be 2 more pixels or 2 fewer pixels? And I think it comes down to trusting that the designers know what they're doing. I can sit with you and talk about why I've made it like this and why I've not made it like this. And frequently, what the developer is seeing is not version 1 or version 2, it's version 4 or 5 or 6 after other things have been eliminated. And so it is possible for me to sit and justify every single decision. And sometimes something is hard to do, and I'll just be like, okay, if you can't do it, fine, we'll do it the easy way if that's what we can ship. Because at the end of the day, I can make all the pretty pictures I want. If it doesn't ship to code, then they're just pretty pictures. So
Developers are the most laziest person, so they'll just pitch you the solution which is most feasible for them. So yeah,
This
and
is revealing. Oh my.
yeah, it means that's the case. We'll just pitch you the solutions that, yeah, why are you doing this? You can do this also. But that's not you, means experience why it's not great. So it always depends on you that how are you creating those things, and we are implementing those things.
Yeah, our major focus will be on like how we are giving the user access to the features and getting the things done. Because the more we try to, what do you say, create that pixel perfect, right? So we are in the agile world. We want to roll out more features, and we don't have any, nobody has unlimited resource, be it designer or a developer. But yeah, priority moves that way. If anyone would have seen over the past few years of an Amazon website, for example, so there has been several changes, right? Initially, like when you are loading the website, the cache used to come when you scroll down. Now they have gone away with that feature. Now it is button. Before the cache, there was a button. So that keeps changing and evolving. And we try to bring data to the user much better than to concentrate more on the pixel perfectness. That's my take.
I want to add something. Nikhil, you are right. You rightly said it. I think most of the times in my early career days, I've had developers coming to me, "ये नहीं हो पाएगा." And there's no reason behind
That's our
it.
tagline.
Yeah, ये नहीं हो पाएगा.
Yeah, I think there are two, three issues within the statements, which is like, I think one is when you are focusing on speed, you are compromising on communication, because what designers would have given you, if you think there are some pixel changes, it's very easy to quickly go back to them, check with them, and then make a decision and go ahead, and that would save you and the designers a lot of time and frustration going forward. And I think, and that would communicate your way of working, your style, and that depends on that. But it's good to have a process in place when we try to skip something which is handed over to us, and just and in that sense, just not focusing on the speed or the timelines, but just to have a thorough process in place that would really help everyone's work.
I think another thing that's helped is because designers get trained for so many years and then they have this, God complex that I know everything kind of a situation. What we try to do is we try, first of all, we try not to take ourselves so seriously. It's okay if a pixel is here or there, but if it's really breaking some a strong visual principle, we try to communicate that to our devs through more simplistic examples. And then with time, it does improve. We've seen that we don't know everything. Designers don't know everything, neither do devs. And it's a learning process, give and take. And having that mindset really improves the way the team works.
The current mindset in the industry, what I understand is that designer treat their product as their child, while developers are just like, kar raha hu." They're just in that phase only ki, something is given by me, given to me by product, I'll develop and eventually it will pass. So that's the mindset currently most of the people are dealing with. So that creates an issue. If people are developing product more in their own sense, that I am developing a certain product, and takes ownership of that particular thing, that this is my thing, I have developed it, then eventually it will make all the things simpler and easier and better.
I guess that's how in these schools we are prepared to defend our design, because they are preparing us for the real world as well. So with this, let's move to the next allegation, and it's the last allegation of the event, and it's for designers. You may not adequately communicate the rationale behind your design decision, making it challenging for developer to grasp the underlying user experience goal. Developers, do you want to add anything to this before designers start defending?
Yeah, maybe I would like to give an example. So don't throw the something like iceberg method, right? Don't show only small portion. Like with that, developers will not be able to understand what all thoughts you'd have already done, because that's only probably 15% of what you are trying to portray, right? And will not be able to see how your thought process is going on in deriving that, and what are all the use cases that you are going to relate the same component across multiple. For example, there is a spin box you might have designed and you want to associate in so many other flows. Will not be knowing on how you will be stitching that, right? So if you are trying to give that use cases much more in a understandable way, that would really help. So we had chances of missing these understandings in the past also, and even now it is happening, because we'll not be in their shoes all the time, right? So yeah, and there is a context change that happens, and it is very well needed. The- yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it from my side.
So I think Nagraj, to what you said, you are correct in that a lot of the times I'm only showing you version 5.6, which is after I've already iterated on some things and I've decided that this is probably what we're doing. We in my team at work, we used to follow a slightly different process. We would create a long pitch deck with a lot of our early explorations, things we tried and why we rejected those options, and then we would come to a final conclusion. And so that meant that I would document every single step along the way. I would make fairly high fidelity mocks to explain what that approach was. And then this used to just take a lot of time. And so now the current process that we follow, which is a lot faster, is that I work with the product manager to get to that point. We do a couple rounds of iteration, but then what I'm handing off to the developer, I actually don't even, in the Figma file, I remove anything that doesn't have to be made, because we found that that was actually creating confusion. We showed multiple things, and then what we actually want is actually version 4, and then developers are like, but why am I seeing things that I don't have to make? So our current process, which seems to be actually working better for us, is to just streamline and only show developers what they need to do. And only if they ask, then we go and talk more about what we tried and what didn't work. So I do think there is a tension there that because early in my career, I often tried to involve developers in user testing, but then these would be hour-long calls, and we do 4 or 5 a day, and it would take the full day to just do that, then a full day to gather insights. And once or twice, some developers accepted. Most of the time, they didn't want to do it because they had to do their jobs. And I think, in a sense, with how software development works, everyone's specialized in their roles and they try and do their job well. And usually, you have blinders on and you don't look too much left, right. I think there is a challenge there, that if you do a little bit of what the other person does, you have more empathy for them, you understand more, but it also takes time and you could be focusing on your own work in that time.
It could be a trade-off, as in, and we have to trust each other. Means it's your expertise, it's your field of expertise. So basically, we have to trust on that. While developing, we are an expert on that side. So means you have to trust on that there are some factors which are not negotiable. So that's the reason why we have created those things.
One more thing is gauging the sort of project that you're working on. Some projects demand that you quickly ship, and the developer, and it's easier to implement, easier components. The dev can see what they have to do and they can ship it. But some projects do need involvement from different crafts. And that I keep going back to my previous point about how when we bring the dev at an earlier stage, we're able to also justify why we want to take this direction. And it also opens a window where if there's a technical constraint, the devs can suggest changes to us. Instead of no as an answer, we have a maybe as an answer. And that is still one step forward.
Yeah, just to add what we have started doing in our organization, in our project, is when we have design reviews with our peers, designers, and when we are confident that we need to show it to the product owner, add it and share it with the developers, we do a quick run with them, explaining how we have arrived at it shortly in a very concise way, not giving them the entire list of iterations that we have gone through, but explaining how we have arrived at this, what is the business requirement, what is the functionality that we are going to achieve with this, and what are the trade-offs or constraints that we have worked on, so that that gives them the forum to also voice out their constraints in terms of developing it and seeing the feasibility of it. So I think that has worked for us at least. But we try to give more and more context, but I think at times it's just a trade-off between how quickly you want to, start developing as against how in detail you want to understand what you are trying to build.
So many cases, what I have seen is like, see, to be frank, developers are binary people. They either know this or that. But designers are like creative people, right? So this is how I want to evolve. But when all those cases try to translate to zeros or ones, right, or this side or that side, a lot of translation gets missed for us to grasp all those things. So one thing what we saw is like maybe some design teams have in-house developer community, or how they actually rationalize and then discuss rather than discussing among the designers. Because once you start discussing among designers, more aspects would come, right? It would be more difficult for us to understand.
I think some slight change that I've seen in my project is that developers are more involved, and they are just looking at what is it for me in this, like what are the challenges, what constraints I will face going forward, or what are the things that I have seen for the first time, or it's new and I have to, really think about the data, the APIs or calls or whatever it is. But I've seen that approach a lot when they are not really trying to understand where we are coming from, but how that'll impact them. And also then trying to see why we have made that decision. So I think but again, it's more of the maturity over a period of time with the process that they have arrived to,
Yeah, sure. There can be a person who can understand at the development team also how design says. When I say that way, yeah, it can be in the other way also, definitely.
So I guess with on that note, we can end our allegation round here. And like in the discussion, we come up with a code is like we are neither designer nor developer. We are a team which is working together, collaborating to create new experiences and business opportunities. So I would like to hand over to Kennedy to conclude the event.
Wow, so that was a very, very intense and incredibly fun panel that we had here. So let's give our esteemed panelists another round of applause, please. So thank you all for joining in. Jan, Divya, and Nachiket, they have joined in from a very short notice, I guess. Yes. So thanks for coming in. Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Nagraj. It was really, really fun. Anybody has any questions or wants to ask something to the speakers, we can take that up and then we can wrap. So AJ sir is here and he wants to add something definitely. So we'll take something from him and then we will end. Also, thank you to my team who's here. Bhavna did an incredible job. There's Ishita, there's Anjali, there's Rucha, then there is, I'm sorry if I'm missing out any name, there's Yash, then there's Khushbu, and there's Nitya and Zoha who haven't joined here. Did I miss anybody? Yes. Sanjog and Sukalp. Sukalp is online here. Hi, Sukalp. Just say hi to us. If he's there. Is he still there? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's give it up. Let's have AJ sir come in.
Okay, so I think Kinnari did everything that I wanted to say. So actually, so this is just to remind ourselves, this is the 50th meeting that we are having in the ACM Sikkai Mumbai chapter. And I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, I was out for a while, but Divya was one of the early organizers of these meetings actually. So it's nice to have her back, just to embarrass her a little bit in front of everyone. So I think it is really nice that we actually have come back in person. And also, I must say actually that when I discussed this with Kinnari and with Nitya and with all the HCI membership team, we said that, let us try to make it a small event. Okay, so this small event has turned out to be much bigger than what we thought. So we had to actually move from our smaller venue in the conference room to this larger auditorium so that everybody could be accommodated. But so thank you very much for showing up. And we are going to actually announce the next event, right? So who's going to do that? So yeah, so Khushbu, please come. But please come for the next event whenever that is, which Khushbu will announce.
So, hi guys. I hope you really enjoyed the event. It was great to have you all here. I would like to introduce you the ACM Sekai IIT Bombay student chapter. So the next event is going to be will be happening on 28th of October, and we are actually bringing on in great speakers on the topics of TRIS and some IDC alumni. So I hope you all join again. Hope to see you again. Thank you.
So we also thank AJ sir for all the guidance, obviously, and we also thank HCI for sponsoring the event again. So thank you again for that, and obviously our student volunteers, and we thank IIT IDC IIT Bombay for the venue.